my god, people be here. Did not open up the right thing. Anyway. Alrighty. Ooh. Alright. Sorry guys, sorry for the belated start, but yeah. We're gonna do one of these, one of this. Turn on the lights because it's darker than hell. Alright, good. Maybe hell's probably like ridiculously bright also. Where is the mouse? There it is. I want to see if I increase the audio from my microphone just enough. Just like test 1 2 2 too much test okay. Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, how bad is the lighting? Let us see. Yeah, it's okay. It's a little bit exposed. Yeah. Listen, lighting has been rough. My big light that I've had for 4 years that was said it was gonna break in 4 years broke, or it's flashing. It's like a strobe light now. I can't get this off. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a jam-packed stream. I can't wait to show you my PC. I'll have to MacGyver the camera, but it's actually in a pretty good place to look at it, which is pretty good. But what are y'all feeling? What are all y'all feeling when it comes to the Game Awards? There was also a PC VR conference type thing where it showcased some new VR games, but they all kind of look a little... Yeah, but anyways, I was gonna say, dude, I had so much fun playing that game yesterday. That Arizona Sunshine 2, God, it needs to have a fucking bigger, better name. There's just so much to say. Bone Lab. Done. But it was such a good time, dude. Also, the dog... I'm so happy that I am not the only one who's like... VR is such an immersive thing. So when you see like a person, there's this weird like... it's real enough but not real at the same time. So people is a little weird because you have like this uncanny valley thing, but when you see a dog, it's like there's no uncanny valley thing. It's just like, oh my boy. My boy. And it's so awesome. It's so good. And it's also like no expense was spared when it comes to the dog, where you can play fetch with him, you can shake his paw, which we didn't even do. We can shake a paw. That's what I used to call it for my dog, and I'm not going to say it the other way. But anyways. Also, what do you call Fluff? I seen your SSD. Dude, Fluff, it is... I am so at the point, like... I figured out how to do the dual stream thing, I think. Or the dual... Basically, having it so that my PC I built, never has to do any, like, too much over encoding. Like, too much things to do. I tried to pull it back so that we should be good. And we actually I did a heat test, Fluff, and... my PC is running a little hot when it is like fully floored. So the CPU, we did tests and it basically got to around like 80C or 84C, which anything above 80, it seems like anything above 75, it seems like 75C, whatever that is. And it's fucking, yeah. Anyways. It's too hot. But that was it when it was fully sent. So I'm not gonna, I still probably could do, Red was telling me I could do 2 other things, add 1, a little bit more fans, and 2, do like this little tiny, because I'm on the, like the border of it being too much. Like I'm at 80. If I can drop it by, I think they said like 15 or 7 or 8 degrees, which you can get this like panel that you just bolt onto your thing, and it'll cool it down a little bit more. And then I should be right on the line of it being good. But considering the CPU is like, I think Red was telling me it was like significantly better than my previous one, and my previous one was fine. So I think we should be good. But even still, I don't want to like stream and do everything on that one PC because it's just too much. Also, I don't want to throw away my other PC, which is still good. It's just not able to run and do the things that we want to do when it comes to VR and stuff like that. Also, thank you, Alone, for saying hi from Twitch. I appreciate that, so I can keep track and see if that's working. But, what was I gonna say? Something about, yeah, you having SSDs. After like buying the PC and then after basically troubleshooting how to do like multi-streaming, it's like when you drop almost $3,000, it's not quite that much, but it's getting, now that I have spent the rest on getting like a capture card for my PC, so that it can run good, it's about a $3,000 thing. So I'm like, ugh. So when I see people who, like, there's things that I need to upgrade with the PC. One of them is storage, because I only have the baseline 2 terabytes, which should be enough to like get me through being conservative with playing games and doing editing. And I have like SSD kind of like USB drives, which should take care of me, because that's what we've been using for a lot of it. So we should be fine. But it would be really neat to plug in like a hard drive or an SSD and one of like the hundreds of ports I have on the damn thing. And what was the other thing I wanted? Yeah, and then the fan, and then the cooler, little tiny like metal cooler part. But anyways, needless to say, it's like when you've already spent a decent amount of money, and you have to, and then you're like, and then you might have to spend more money, and you're like, I just need to not spend money for like maybe 3 months to feel like I'm okay again, because jeez. But needless to say, I can't wait to show you guys the PC at some point in the stream. But yes, LaFleur says, got my 4 terabytes, although I haven't put anything into it. Yeah. It's just nice to have. Like, this is something that's, like, and I finally get the PC things, by the way. Also, sorry, everyone. Well, hello, Fluff. Hello, Lone. Hello, Crazy. You're gonna have to hear me ramble about this for just a little bit more. Probably a lot more. But, I finally get the things that people say, because I've been hearing about PC building for a long time. I have had, I'm talking to Lone about it on, around the Game Awards, beginning of part of that. But anyways, I've heard people talk about like all these PC things, like, oh, you know, everyone always said you should really make your own PC because you'll know how everything works, essentially. Like, and I was like, yeah, sure. Like, it just sounds like fucking nothing to me, to people. Like, you're like, yeah, in the same way that like I should learn how to like build the game so that I understand everything. No, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? But I finally get what people kind of mean when they say that. When you piece together your PC, you understand things like, oh, if I wanted to, say, upgrade my SSD, like put more memory in the PC, I know how to do that. Because I painstakingly had to look at the manual, look at a bunch of shit. Is that what they're talking about? Nope. But I read that, so now I have that, my information. Good. Flip the page. That's what I want. Boom. Plug this in, boom. Flip the page. Okay, good. And you're like passively learning all these tiny things. I will say, it does kill me. It kills me, the whole, like, PC building lingo. Like, Red was kicking my ass with saying, like, power supply, but the abbreviation of it. And I don't know why we don't just say PW, power, or PS, something. Instead, it's 3 words. So I'm like, what does this mean? POS. I think it was power supply unit. I don't know, fucking anything. I was like, ugh. But it's cool that when you finish building the PC, although mine is very much like, I see a lot of people who have like every plug in their motherboard plugged, usually because it's RGB that they're using that for, where mine looks tight. Okay. Also, let me catch up. Actually, I have a perfect idea of christening the new SSD. I'll put all of the Yakuza games on there. God damn, I feel like for whatever reason the Yakuza games I feel like would not be optimized for file size really well. Like, I also see that in CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk, where like, god damn, it's like fucking 100 gigabytes at this point to run that game. That's without mods. Love says, although I have decided to postpone getting started with those games as I don't want to aggravate the RSI. What does that mean? I want to aggravate my RSI. What does that mean? Love says, it will be my next designated single player story series. Though I can't. Love, I feel like that's tough. That's a real, like, I'm two things. I think, yes, that's awesome. Like, I think it's really cool that people do that, where they set up, like, I'm going to burn through all of these games, old into new. That way I get to enjoy, like, the ramping up of quality and potentially features. But at the same time, motherfucker, you going to burn out, I feel like. That's a recipe for burning out. It's like someone saying, I'm going to watch all of One Piece. And I'm like, you don't get, like when you're, like, 100 episodes in, you don't start feeling, man, I do not care as much as I did. And if you were to take a break, watch some of the stuff come back, bang, now it's hitting again, you know what I mean? But I feel like Fluff is probably incorporating that, but just not saying it. Like, oh, if I got too much, I'd just step away. Yeah. Also, you probably have work, so things would put a gap essentially in there. Also, Lone says, hello, Lone. Crazy says, what's up, Crazy? What was your game of the year, and did you see any cool announcements that you're excited for? Because I need to gauge if I missed anything, you know, if I'm like, the No Man's Sky thing to me is really neat. Again, I kept saying the same thing, but like I really didn't give a shit when No Man's Sky was the thing, because what it showed was like a lot of beautiful spectacles. But ultimately, I've never cared about that. Like, and the fact that there's like a million of the same thing is irrelevant to me. Like, same reason, like Borderlands is the best example ever. Where like Borderlands made it so that each one of the different things meant something. It didn't just look different. You know what I mean? Like, if you had a certain stock on a Borderlands gun, even though it says it's a billion different guns, it's really just like different mods and like stocks and barrels shifted around. But that worked because they each provided you something different. So there could be like an actual value proposition or an interest thing there, an interest-driven thing there. But the No Man's Sky thing, it showed a lot of like different, like seemingly mechanics. Also, I have yet to get into like No Man's Sky's building and stuff like that, which I think has been improved over the years. I think it just, everyone else's camp or like the new No Man's Sky game. I just hope it's not going to be like Garbo at launch and then slowly get better. And if it is, I would appreciate if it at least like shipped in early access so people knew what they were getting in for, and also were able to maybe get like a discount on the game because they're participating in like being a tester basically, but with early access pricing. Fluff says, yeah, your previous PC still function overall. Yeah, I don't want to throw it all away. Yeah. Fluff says, you can probably get some high capacity HDDs for quite cheap. Yeah, it's true. Like even the things like Red was telling me about, like you can get a PC fan for maybe like $30. It's pretty decent. You can also get like the little thing he was telling me about. You can get one from Alibaba that's like it's a CPU cooler type thing. It's not like a cooler. It's like a piece of metal that kind of does. It dude said like 8 degrees cooler essentially. So you're not getting a ton. But I don't need a ton. If I had a fan, and now I think it would bring me below what I need it to be. Anyways, but I think it would add up to being like $80. But like, it's shit to just I think it's just me. But like, I think when certain stuff if you had 2 big orders, it would feel less bad than having like 8 or like 20. Because I've got my PC parts, which was like 6 orders. I got my what do you call it? I bought Arizona Sunshine, which is one of the first like $60 VR games, and it shows it's really good, but it's also $60. It hurts, you know. And then the second thing was, and I'm getting this capture card. I'm getting these cords so the capture card can run, and it just adds up. You know, it adds up to the point where like I spent a lot of money on a lot of tiny things, and it feels heavy, you know. And again, like if I think in like 2 months or a month, I'll feel better about like, okay, yeah, I'll buy stuff, you know. It's kind of shitty though, because I wonder if my memory for where everything goes and all that stuff will stay. Although I want to talk to you guys about the process of it, because I think it's kind of funny the story that happened with the building the PC, not just like the hype around it, but yeah. Your PCs do function. Lone says, how was your day-to-day, Grin? My day, I always feel, I'm not sure if you guys the same way, I always feel like Saturdays, like my day starts at 12 or 11 p.m. Like that's when I'm like really present and I'm like, okay, whatever I'm doing, I feel like I'm doing. If I do everything before that, I feel like I'm in a haze and I'm kind of like meandering around where like I don't even feel present in what I'm doing, you know? And yeah, maybe it's like I'm a night person probably. It's a big chunk of it, but anyways, yeah, I didn't really do much. I did some YouTube research stuff, doing that, and then I basically, I ate because we have to eat before the stream. I did that research for like 3 hours, the YouTube stuff, ate, and then I got ready to stream, but I had like an hour, or not an hour, I had like 20 minutes before the stream started. So I watched this, I found this manga thing to read a little bit of, and it's kind of interesting. It's, again, 90% of manhwa, also this is so fun. I like this one more. This one's less destructive, you know, because I think it's his whole face that looks kind of off, like just a withered soul, to where it looks less too much. But I will say that, again, I'm not sure if I love, I don't know, dude. I'm not sure if I love that like human faces. I would always rather like Sunset Overdrive or Hi-Fi Rush. Like I want style rather than like this, which just makes my PC cry, and it makes your PC cry, where it's just like, oh God, please. There's so many. You don't need to see the fucking individual pores in the skin. Stop it. Calm down. Why, God? How about you? How was your day, Lone Fluff? Crazy, how was your day? My day is basically just starting. How about that? My day starts with you guys. Where are you? Oh, my chat did that thing where it snaps at the bottom. Fluff says, building a PC yourself is very valuable experience. Yeah. PUS, power supply. Yeah, I know. SSD. I know the SSD things. Yeah, like things like that. A SATA is also one. Like I have a SATA, I think that's what it is. SATA cable, which I'm realizing is basically to power your SSDs and such. I still don't know what VG. There's like certain things in the back of my power supply, Fluff, that I don't really understand. It's like Vega or something, VG something. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, what that's for. I think it's for my graphics card. I just don't know why. What that's referring to. Oh, I know. SATA solids. No, I don't know what that SATA refers to. Also, Wukong game looking rad. I will say, dude, the Wukong game and the like Berserk Dark Souls game, I'm not sure. I was the only one I feel like that was hyped about the Berserk game. That game looked sick to me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't mean us. I mean like I heard a bunch of people react to Wukong by like watching reaction trailers to the Game Awards, and everyone seemed to pop off at the things but not a lot of that. And I was like, oh come on, man, that looked rad. And not that many games with that kind of aesthetic, like the dark anime grunge kind of thing. And if it is, it's very Korean art style, not very like, like there's a certain Japanese brute man like Baki kind of art style. Lone says, you good, Grin? Talk about as much as you like. I always return to thank you so much. It's a compliment. It's a compliment, a very sweet thing to say. Making a valuable experience. Left says, we used N because they get very technically and worry otherwise. Okay. We use, what is that? I got my fucking Twitch chat or my YouTube chat is so tiny. I don't know why they've shrunk the font. No, don't do that. Love says, well, moving any active game onto an SSD will help with the install and load time. That's true. Even if it's a USB SSD, so long as the plug I plug it into, is that an SSD? Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully, yes. Fluff says, well, moving any injury. Repetitive strain. Oh, you got that one of those like wrist shit or the elbow stuff, like that kind of like tennis elbow like thing that I feel like a lot of people just use in brute force too. Dude, if that is what we're talking about, like people who play games or do anything like that, they have like these like a I don't know what it is, but I can't even imagine. But like it's like some sort of like a mass repetition kind of injury where like your arm just gets like a really bad thing, like your joint starts screaming. It makes no sense. Like I should absolutely 110% have something like that. Like the way I use my mouse isn't like this, where I rest my hand perfectly and I use my wrist. I have to use I basically do this, like a plank, and then I have like a little thing to here so my elbow doesn't get hurt. But it's basically just this all the time. And I do like kettlebell exercises where you're constantly hinging your wrist under like 50 pounds of weight by swinging it up above your head and swinging it down. So I'm like, I'm on my computer almost like 24 hours a day for like the last 10 years. So yeah, I'm like, I heard about this injury before, and I'm like, it's gonna happen eventually, probably, but I'm surprised I haven't detonated it sooner. If that is what we're talking about, which I think it sounds right. Movement of hours resulting in nerve, joint, or muscular. But yeah, I wonder why I haven't got that. But yeah, I hope it recovers, Fluff. Apparently, people say you need to take like a week off or 2 weeks off, which is crappy. I'm also on like a ton of vitamin shit, like omegas, stuff that they give old people because their bones start to degenerate because my parents are on it, and I'm also like, can I have something? Like, sure. And yeah, so that might be a part of it too. I'm juicing young, essentially. Although I can't say that for too much longer. We're starting to get up there a little bit. Fluff says, in my case, it's nerve pain in my upper arm and back of my hand. Interesting, Fluff. I remember my dad has something in his hand that's weird where it like locks up. If you've ever worked in like really cold weather, it's the same thing can happen where like you physically, you can't really open up your hand. It feels weird. It's almost like a muscle spasm, but it doesn't really sting. It kind of is your hand just not communicating to your body, and it feels a little weird. But yeah. Fluff said, I remember why my friend said he was gonna... Oh, Lone says, I remember when my friend said he was gonna watch all of One Piece in 1 week. Yeah, it's fucked. Your friend is... did he do it? And if he did, all of it's bad. If he didn't do it, shame on him. If he did do it, what the fuck is wrong with him? This chair is cursed with allergies, or it's the dust. It's probably the dust. I have my eyes watering. That's why I brought that up. Fluff says, yeah, I'm setting on no deadline for playing them. Just getting through it. Gotcha. Myself into the newer Chronicle release. Yeah, it makes sense. Crazy says, I honestly didn't see it. I didn't care for us. I don't care for some games now, but definitely would see if Borderlands was on. Ooh, yeah, no Borderlands, man. I'm not sure, Crazy, if you were here when we were talking about the whole Borderlands thing, about like they might do like an Avengers, bringing everyone back for the fourth, whatever game it is, which I think a lot of us would be into, because I would love to see like Scooter again and all these people and like Roland. Because in the Telltale game, there's like a rock that revives people. People are speculating that could be used in the sequel of Borderlands. Anyways, but also it'd be cool to see like Maya and everyone reunited. Anyways, okay. Also, that would be a good reason to be like, where the fuck was Axton and Salvador, who are like the most important people in the series? That'd be a good excuse for like, oh, we're getting the thing that's gonna bring back all of our friends, idiot. Yeah, that we were there. I'm like, oh, okay. Anyways, but yeah, the thing we were also talking about Borderlands is hopefully they get acquired by someone who isn't, I think it's ZeniMax or whomever it is, because they're kind of like doing weird stuff with the property, i.e. Borderlands 3, case in point. The story, at least in that regard. Plus, it's pretty sure there is not enough time in a whole week to watch all of One Piece, even at 2x speed. Yeah, it feels like that's fair. I'm certain Hollow games have long since learned their lesson, and if Light No Fire is just a proof of concept stage. Okay, yeah, no. Sorry, there's a lot of things I'm saying, but there, I agree that most likely, like it would be the biggest like eat shit kind of moment if they did mess it up. But also, this game looks neat. Blade. I wonder what this will look like. People said it's a third-person Arkham game. Not Arkham. What's the game that people made Dishonored? Arcane. There we go. Arcane. Third-person Arcane game, which will be a first, I think. But yeah. Also, he ain't gonna even use some cream. I guess it is Blade. So yeah. Fluff says, you and I have those metal adapters in addition to my big cooler on top. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I have one, not you and I have one. My brain got weird there. Fluff says, but I also would say you're likely not going to push your CPU to its limit off. Yeah, that's what Red was saying. Red was like, no, dude, because I was kind of like getting worried, because I was like, come on, do I have to order fans or something to even make it work? And I was like, no, right. I was like, you rarely will ever even touch that, like that level of CPU usage. And the fact that my old CPU never had any issue, you know what I mean? Makes me think we're maybe okay, you know? Because I'm not going to do anything that I wouldn't do on my other one. I'm going to edit on this PC one. But yeah. Both of the, but I also would say you're likely not going to have CV limits. Lone says both of the face make me feel any. Really? I don't really feel like the second one, but maybe it's because I'm in VR so much that like you start to get like a brain where like your brain's already kind of like like it's so odd, like motion sickness. I'm not moving. It's weird that your brain starts to like turn off those signals to where like this is fine. This is fine for me. Fluff says, there's been studies that more or less prove that kids and teenagers' brains aren't fully active until around 10 a.m., which makes starting school at 7 a.m. making it difficult to... Yeah, also, just learning like everything... learning so much in a condensed time. Man, I feel like it would be so much... I'm not sure, but I feel like it'd be a neat experiment to run if you were to give kids the option of like making sure they really, really understand like maybe in the first year of school when you're actually starting to get serious within schooling is all about like just trying to get a kid to understand what they might have a proclivity to and they also might like. And then getting them, instead of doing like social studies, math, LA, all these like hyper scaled and stacked things on top of things, instead to get them to specialize into one asset, like maybe 3. And then maybe have like one class that covers like baseline mathematics, baseline LA, to a point in which is applicable, you know. But school is still very much like meant to be an assembly line type thing, you know. So I'm not sure if we're ever gonna get that revamp anytime soon, but we'll see. Fluff says, yeah, those are real people, not in-game. Yeah, no, I know they're real people. Yeah, I recognize the girl. I'm not sure the guy also seems familiar. I feel like I remember him young more than I do as him being older now. Yeah, it's just a teaser for whatever the hell Kojima's gonna do. Yeah. Lone says, my day was good, and my internship to go to afterward, me and my best friend went to the mall and I stopped in GameStop, bought a game, came home, and now I'm hanging out. Ooh, what kind of game you buy? What kind of game you buy? I remember there was a time when Lone was going hard into like obscure, I don't even know what they're called. I forget what they're called. Serena Kage or some shit. I know if I were to show you an image of it, you probably have seen it before because it's a very popular like female fighting game type genre. Oh, there's also like that console game that he was also like console waifus essentially, which he was saying was really good, and I was like, oh shit. But I remember that rabbit hole. It's like just like Fluff's VTuber thing. Both y'all had your moments this and last year. Fluff says, VAG are a video graphics array. Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Why would you need multiple ports if that's the case? Oh, I guess there was a time when people did run like two graphics cards, right? But then the tech never really developed to where it was actually like smart to do it. Like it was just much better to run one. You rarely need to use every possible plug, but it allows you to use older stuff. Oh, I see. Tennis elbow and trigger finger are 2 types of RS. Okay, that's what I thought. Exercise and stretching helps prevent. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. I was about to say exercise. I wonder about exercise. Do you think exercise would be like more strain on your joints? Maybe it's because it's hyper straining your joint, so that you doing a tinier movement is like nothing compared to the big movement, and you're also giving yourself enough time if you're exercising properly to recover, so you're not like constantly using something damaged. Well, that's a good way to put it. I think exercise might. That could make sense to me. Sorry, I'm trying to think through how does it make sense, but exercising might increase your overall 100% to be, let's say 100%, but say a person who didn't exercise, they're 100% doing something as simple as maybe moving around for 2 hours with your mouse would be acting as 80% of your overall strength or joint health or whatever. And if you exercise, you might increase that percentage to only be 20%, which your body can easily recover from. That may make sense. Stretching, I also think is pretty good. Have you tried doing the It's like one of the most gnarly stretches that I think you can do. It's not actually that bad though, especially if you start off. But basically, you put your arms like this, and then you basically start to lean back. Like, you know, like downward facing dog where you do this and you like lean your head back? Well, it's like that, except you do this. And then you slowly start to inch your arms further and further away from you so that your palm is pulling like even more and more back. But yeah, good stretches all around. I use wrist rests for my keyboard and mouse, so I usually don't have the issue on my PC. But I don't really get the benefit of the gamepad, which is why I'm postponing the Yakuza games for a bit. Ooh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, you definitely want to, I've always heard people say that if you have that thing, the like weird strain tennis elbow ache, don't just like brute force through it, because it'll only get worse, and you'll just like you could eventually damage your joint, you know. I pretty much need to take time off after the holidays, as I don't want to miss the holiday bonus. Ooh, yeah, it's a good idea. Very good idea. A bit, but still really showing a shitty timing, though, for you getting an injury right around this time. I pretty much need to, right there. Lone says, yeah, I told him how impossible that would be, and he just felt stupid after. Okay, I see. You don't have to roast in that bag. You can be like, listen, man, you should enjoy your experience. This dumb motherfucker doesn't know it's impossible. Also, I want to see gameplay of this so badly. If you guys happen to see a YouTube video of this, which is called The Finals, that's like high level or like really shows off like the cool mechanics of it, like maybe pro play or some shit like that. If you ever catch a video, if you Discord message me it, because I would love to. I want to start like sending YouTube the signal that like I'm interested in this game. And having seen like 4 or 5 videos in a row, it tends to do that. But I don't just want nothing. I want actual like decent plays or really funny videos, which usually, I think this is probably going to replace CSGO to some extent. No, CSGO, the reason why CSGO funny moments are such a proclivity thing, there's so much of them, what I'm trying to say, is because, yeah, it's how do I phrase it properly? It's just a game that doesn't have too much going on to where you can like make jokes in between, I think. Or that's my idea of why it's good. Fluff says, it's funny how Arcane failed with making a multiplayer vampire game, and now they've got a Marvel licensed vampire. I was saying the same thing, Fluff. I was like, I didn't say anything in the thing, but in the back of my head, I'm like, am I fucked up in thinking like, is this Arcane? Arcane made Redfall, right? Okay, and all right, yeah. I also could see, and this might be like their response is, well, we put out the Siren's Call that we are making a vampire game. We did really good advertising at the beginning of it to where like there was a vampire like standing up in the like middle of the sky, and it looked very atmospheric and stuff like that. And that game was starting to be in development. We were starting to get the ball rolling. We also maybe gave ourselves too much like mechanical things, like we made it all co-op for no reason. We made a bunch of character presets happen. We made like a loot system in there, like just too many mechanics to kind of fucking flush out. And because we put out the call that we were doing a vampire game, maybe Marvel's seen that and said, hey, do you want to have a knock at Blade? Like we see that Spider-Man's kicking some ass. That's went really well for us. Or Sony, that's went really well for Sony. Why don't you try this? And yeah, I think maybe they're like, yeah, we abandoned Redfall and we just kind of ate that on the chin. But I don't know if that makes the most sense because it still reflects really badly on Xbox. But yeah, a lot of people were complaining as well that there wasn't too many like heavy hitters at this what's it called? Game Awards. Like there was no people were expecting that there was gonna be something like a Halo this or that, or like some sort of big game, but it seems like every developer is becoming more understanding of like Xbox can just market their own thing. Like they can just make an event, they can release like a showcase, and people are going to give a shit about it. They don't need to kind of work through these weird like what is it called, awards ceremonies or like colossal showcases, so to speak. They can just make their own showcase, and they have enough content at this point to actually fill up a whole show, which is pretty neat. Because I will say, the whole 3 hours, the Game Awards felt a wee bit long this year. I feel like it was a 2-hour game show is perfect. Like a showcase or whatever is that sweet spot of like, I care. Hit me with the last thing. Ooh, I care. All right, we're done. You know, instead of I care. Okay. All right. Oh, geez. I mean, because like the in between of like, here's your award was basically equivalent of like a person talking on stage about how they're making a game at E3. Like, it's not that far off, you know. Alone says, also, Grin, I got some stuff I wanted to talk to you about. Some things about the new Nikita art thing. Hit me with Alone. You haven't talked to me about this for a minute. I do know you said that there was a Christmas update, and Santa came with a lot of pretty waifus, essentially, as presents. And I thought that's hilarious. Ooh. I would make sure your part aren't automatically overclocked. It's not necessary and will just shorten the lifespan if I might ask you about that, Fluff, through Discord, because I don't know what I would look for. Like, if what would I look for that would signal that my stuff is overclocked somehow by default? Like, maybe my motherboard did it by default. Where would I find that information that tells me it's overclocked or so and so? You know. Fluff says, I would make sure. Oh, I read that. Oh no! Damn you, YouTube. Even if you cut out the filler episodes, it would probably take a month. Have you watched One Piece? All of One Piece? Fluff says, Bleach, on the other hand, is definitely feasible, even with filler. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I just put myself in that thing. I'm like, really? You're gonna watch all of even the filler ones? Okay. Eek. Fluff says, Serena Kage, you're right. Yup, Neptuna. Yeah, it was what it was. Neptuna. That sounds real familiar as well. My VTuber obsession, Fluff says, is just normalized. I feel the same way about VR for me, and I feel like for Lone, it is gotcha waifu games. Each of them have it's no longer a phase, Mom. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, no, it's pretty deep in there. It's been almost a year and we're still deep. Okay. In fact, I don't even feel like I need to bring it up all the time but I still do. I still bring it up all the time because there's some stuff happening. You know what I mean? Lone says, but the game I bought is Eternal Night. This game where you saw oh, no way, that came out? Oh, that game must have had zero advertising. That was the anime game where like you it's like a dating sim, a beat 'em up, and everything else in between. Shit, Lone. Oh, you'll have to play that for me and tell me, because I always thought that'd be a fun stream game where like you're trying to waifu up some people with there's a fucking apocalypse happening. I think that'd be a real funny situation. Oh, my chest. Oh, I also feel like there are certain games when you're watching them be streamed where it's kind of, I don't know. Like I think Arizona Sunshine is a good example of like a kind of a game that can work because it's just quippy lines and then like you just getting up to fun essentially. And like the main character will say something absurd like he misses human farts because he's that isolated and deeply wants human contact. But anyways, but there are also some games that are so narrative focused I feel like it gets lost in the mud. But weirdly enough, like those like JRPGs or whatever, I feel like always. I immediately know, like, when we're like, a great example is Starfield. When we were playing Starfield, one of like the romance options hit. I feel like everyone kind of leaned in, like, oh, okay, this is time for us to see what. Oh, who is she? Oh, she's cute. She's neat. All right, neat. Maybe it's just that most people who watch streams are dudes, and we just have an infatuation with women being neat and characters within themselves. Who knows? Oh, my nose. Also, what's good, Raid? Raid says, hi, what's good, Raid? What was any game that you're looking forward to in 2024? I want you guys, can you guys do me, I challenge you. Make me excited for what's going to come out in 2024. Because I feel like I don't have that silver lining, you know? Like every year we've had something. We had Starfield last year. That was one of the things I was like, hey, that'll be something that hopefully will be big. All that stuff. And yeah. But I feel like I don't really have that next year. And I think it's just because I'm not remembering what we've already seen that was going to come out in a year, essentially. I know there's Obsidian. The only one that comes to mind is the Obsidian Avowed game. I think it's coming out in 2024. The VAG port is the monitor. It's what comes before things like HDMI. Oh, okay. Huh. Fluff says, haven't ever tried that stretch. No, but my work has a guide seat of most of the recommended stretches for my type of job. However, since I've already that injured, I need to take some time. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. Definitely take some time, but it's always easy to like forget why you're injured. So it's important to go back and do the stretches, especially when like the best way to understand, I think, stretches, because a lot of them do the same thing. But the best way to think about understanding stretches is 1 minute you're doing maybe like 10%, 2 minutes you're doing like 50%, and then doing like 3 minutes plus you're doing like 100%. Essentially, so you're basically doing. A lot of people will hold the stretch for like maybe 30 seconds, and they're like, I'm good. And you're like, maybe if you're warming up before an exercise, just to get that kind of muscle and like whatever called and ligaments like kind of opened up a little bit, but not if you're actually trying to reclaim ground, which is what you want to do when you're stretching. But yeah, anyways, Fluff says, but I also need to find out how to calm sick or claim a sick or vacation pay. That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Yeah, especially when you work in those kind of like environments or work setups where you're kind of having a hierarchy or whatever. That's like a chain or whatever, whatever. It's really good to understand that kind of stuff, because a lot of them don't necessarily tell you, and you could be getting screwed, you know. But also need to find out how to do. Fluff says JFJ has a few videos of him playing the finals, but I don't know if he's touched it after the 1.5 launch. They did a lot of balance changes that people aren't happy with. That's tough. I always feel like it's tough. Because I feel like in a game like that, you have to do balance changes at some point, right? I just don't think it should ever be when people are having a ton of fun. I think you should wait until interest starts to die off, and then you're like, okay, now let's re-change shit. But yeah. Technically a different studio under the Arcane, but they are a very conveniently didn't mention from the studio that bought you Redfall. And only mentioned Dishonored and Deathloop. That's a good idea. Well, maybe it's the people who genuinely made both those games. Maybe Deathloop or Redfall was like a subgenre, because I don't know. As much as I do want to, like, I feel like Redfall was, but outside of like maybe the world design and like character design, which is very Dishonored, nothing really felt like an arcane game, you know. I also played the girl with the bot, so maybe I didn't have any like magic that would have felt really similar to Arcane. But yeah, I don't know. I will say Redfall it's so unfortunate, basically, because Arcane was like touted as being one of like the better developers. Also, I hate my fucking beards fighting me. It's like permanently doing the Frenchman, which is like this curvy shit, doing one of these all the way forward. It's awful. Oh, my eyes drying out. And it seems possible that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will be coming as early as June next year. Golly! I did see 2 takes, and I want to know what you guys thought about them, about the Game Awards, which I never really heard about, but I just wonder what you guys will think if I just throw like a nugget out there. One of them was people who were like, listen, I agree that Baldur's Gate 3, whatever it is, Baldur's Gate? Let's just say Baldur's. I agree that Baldur's Gate 3 is a fantastic, amazing game, but it didn't come out in 2003. It came out 3 years ago. I was playing it and it was in beta test, and I paid for it 3 years ago, in alpha or whatever it was, and now it finally came out 3 years later. So they're kind of like, the argument it seemed like was like, this is not a current game, okay? It's just a very big stretch. I agree it's amazing. I'm all for it getting amazing, but this is weird. This is weird that this is in here. I thought that was funny, because I knew that Baldur's Gate was like in early access. I just didn't know it was for fucking 3 years. Anyways, and then what was the other one? Oh, the other one people said, and I want to know what you guys think about this. And it's think about the statement that it is. People said that Breath of the Wild, the sequel of the new Zelda game, is a perfect video game. That's what they said. Now, they also wanted to say that the reason why that was, some way, is they made a better RPG, physics engine, etc. than Bethesda, who is like the notorious people for doing that, which I kind of have to agree with. And they made it run on like a fucking 2010 iPad, essentially. Like enough. They made a game with crazy physics and all of these like lighting effects and all this stuff that makes it look really, really good. Like run on a game that is crazy, and also not a lot of frame drops when you're using like the physics engine when you're flying and dropping like hundreds of feet. As much as people may not love the game, I think it's really interesting, that statement though. The perfect video game doesn't mean it is the best video game. It just says it is what it was. The fact that there was like physics engines, the fact that there was exploration not only on the bottom but above, the fact that the game ran like there was no like day one patch that helped fix everything. It was just rock solid the entire way around, and it was running on old hardware, and it happened to be what was it called? It had this physics element to it. Where like you're dropping things, you're combining things, and all of it ran perfectly smooth. In the year 2023, 2023, I think that's right, where every game is broken, usually at launch, to some faculty, that game came out rock solid and just clean. And the story there was plenty of story, there was plenty of content, there was plenty of like maps, it wasn't all just a reskin. Fluff said, I think he said he likes the previous game more than the newer game. But I do have to agree with, like, I do think that it's been a long time since a game has come out and it has had every hallmark that you would think of when it comes to a AAA game, and it ran buttery smooth, and it probably shouldn't have. In that way, I think it deserves like a weird patch of Hall of Fame. I have not played the game, but I've seen people play it, and I think all the things I've heard seem like that is a fair sentiment. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was really interesting, because again, you're not talking about like this game is the best or my favorite game. It's talking about this game is a perfect video game, like as far as being a video game and everything working and it having new stuff and it upping the ante from the previous game, and all that stuff. I feel like it makes sense. It deserves some sort of credit for being stable and adding new shit and still being stable, I think. Which I thought was a really interesting thing. I thought both of those statements were curious. I may be missing something. That's why I want to talk to you guys about it, because I wonder what you guys think, because some of you guys have played Breath of the Wild and things like that, or the newest Final Fantasy game. Tears of the Kingdom is what it was called. Oh, where are we? Raid says hi. Hi. Oh, I sneeze. Yes. Sorry. Cover my goddamn mouth. I'm sorry. I didn't do that. Alone says, yes, Santa put some waifus under my tree this year. Right below your credit card. Conveniently enough. Fluff says Red is probably more experienced with overclocking, but I believe it's something in your BIOS. Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought there was something in there where it basically said that it was like auto, to where it will like automatically try to do more if you want, and I disabled it, one of those features, and then I ended up running the test again that tests your CPU, and it still kept overheating, so I left it on auto. That didn't really seem like it gave me a different response, but maybe I'm not switching off the right thing. Fluff says, I am 3 years strong into the VTuber rabbit hole. It's true. It's true. God, I hate when people tell me how long they've, because it just makes me feel old. I really oddly been feeling nostalgic for the MMOs and such lately. Been returning to EverQuest 2, Ragnarok Online, RuneScape set up to try the first time event. Yeah, a bunch of these things. Yeah, you're getting a little nostalgia boon. Lone says, so the new Christmas event, the story has us going into a hot springs, of course, and new limited Nikita. Her name is Lund Mila, and she is I like her limited version way more than the original. I managed to Get 4 copies of her. Man, I hope I can eventually experience one of these, like, the drop rates of one of these mobile games, which seems like it's significantly more reasonable. In an actual AAA game. Sorry. Basically, like, if Withering Waves had good drop rates, you know? 4 copies with her, 120 pulls. Christmas Limited Nikita, they released last year because they are running old limited and sends you them and we can okay, got you. Oh, you sent me them? Okay, I'm curious about this. You say thick, hot, thick. How are we talking about? Fluff says, and now I'm playing WoW again, leveling a troll mage so I can finally unlock an allied race. Oh, I'm not sure what any of that is. Final Fantasy 16 is like coming to the PC next year, likely after the 2 DLCs drop. Which is Final Fantasy 16? Is that the game that was supposed to come out? The one that with the Icarus kid? Not Icarus. What is his name? Oh, he's like the fire god. I can't think. Ifrit. It's like the Ifrit kid, and then you play as the knight or something. That one? Fluff says, and it seems possible that Final Fantasy VII Reborn will be coming as early as June next year. Ooh. Final Fantasy Rebirth. Oh man, I always feel so left out when this shit happens, when people be popping off about Final Fantasy, like, reboot, whatever you want to call it, read it, whatever. Yeah, I'm just like, I feel nothing. I've never felt more nothing about a game or a series that so many people love. It happens every couple of years when, like, Zelda was popping off for the first time, and I'm like, I don't get it. I kind of get it. The game looks really good, but yeah. Raid says, I don't really have much I'm looking forward to this. You don't say it to me. You just spiral me in a massive amount. Although every game that I've loved this year was a VR game or was like an utter surprise, like Hi-Fi Rush and stuff like that, you know? Which, what a good idea for a game like that, especially for Xbox, just to like release these like super unique but like really fun and engaging games just on like a whim whenever there's like nothing happening. Such a good idea because there's no expectations, so your expectations are basically like ground level 0, and then they just keep delivering, and you're like, holy shit. Because imagine if we've seen like Hi-Fi Rush on E3, and we're like, oh, look, a beat game. Oh, it's kind of cool. Oh, it's kind of neat. Okay, I see it. You play as like this goofy, fun anime guy. Okay. Oh, cool. Like there's a cyber like punk rocker chick, rad. But I feel like I'd be less interested by it just dropping and it being so good, and then me seeing like 2 videos on it and me being like, I need this in my life, and then just us playing it immediately, you know? That's my game of the year, that Hi-Fi Rush game. A game of the year that's not VR, I'd say. Fluff says, my foreman noted that the first 15 minutes or so of my shift should be spent doing stretch. That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. Maybe, yes. Yeah, it's weird to do a lot of stretching and then going into doing work that is like gonna strain your muscles. Like, it's one of the things that people say that it oftentimes gets like lost in translation. But when you're watching someone who's like a fitness person, oftentimes people say, don't stretch before working out. It's not that you're supposed to stretch. It's not also that you're supposed to not stretch, or you're supposed to stretch. It's almost like when you're working out, or you're about to do any sort of like physically heavy interaction while lifting pallets or lifting weights. You don't want to overstrain your joints and muscle structure to where they end up getting like really thin and really brittle. It's almost like you're stretching a cord and it becomes really, really thin, and then you're going to put a lot of weight on that cord, and that cord might snap. So you don't want to do that, or you may tear a muscle or something like that. So you don't want to do that, but the goal is basically get that cord ready to stretch, ready to do the thing without holding. If you want to gain health, you want to stretch, hold it there for a long time, and then wait, and then let it repair itself. So like the best time to do stretching that will actually like better your overall health and overall mobility and things like that is like right before bed. That way you're going to bed and your muscles, which just got strained and pulled apart, have like the perfect setting to recover and repair all that tissue damage that you did by pulling your muscles apart, and your joints apart and stuff. But right before you go into your work, I think you want to keep it like you actually do. Maybe wanting to hold it for maybe like 40 seconds because you're just trying to warm up your muscles range of motion, kind of. You're not trying to get new range of motion. That's a good way to put it. You're just trying. It's like difference between warming up range of motion and then claiming new ranges of motion. Both are important, I think, for health and stretching. I've been stretching for like 3 years straight. Now I can do some pretty cool stuff. Still haven't had any interest in doing like the splits or anything like that. That's a wee bit much. I just want to keep my wrists and my shoulders and shit okay. But yeah, phone says them out later in. You're gonna put them out later in the stream, yeah, so we can look at the Nikita things. Raid says I also wish they showcased some Hades 2 stuff. Yeah, I was surprised that was one of the most, that was listed in one of the more anticipated games of 2024, and I was like, I thought that came out, but maybe not. I feel like I would have heard about it coming out though. I also wish they show that. Yeah, I've stocked up over 40 hours of sick time, and I've gone around 20 hours of paid vacation. Ooh. And I just don't think I'll be able to use before the reset. Yeah, normally they try to tell you that, like, use your sick days, because I don't think they stack like every consecutive year. I don't think. Or if they do, there's clearly going to be a point where they stop stacking because they can't have somebody gone for like 2 weeks, essentially. Yeah, just because they happen to stack up that many. Man, that's a hairy ass chest. Yeah. Oh. Flutlone says, yeah, I did see any advertisements for that game, that anime dating sim game, and I know it is a demon release. I saw a few people talk about it. Oh, you did see a few people talk about it? I was not lucky enough to see that. I've seen some people saying like, oh, this game's going to come out in a couple months, but then they didn't, yeah, no advertising. Most of the Corvo's abilities were split between the few characters. The one I played with Teleport, I'd say, was close to, yeah, the thing. Oh, the Death Loop kit. Yeah. Early access doesn't disqualify it from being a game of it. No, I know it doesn't disqualify it. It is very strange that a game that we've been seeing for 3 years straight happens to then win. It's like almost like if you were a developer and you were like making a game and you were confident that your game was maybe a little bit like above average, generally speaking. Not saying that was Baldur's Gate, just saying that, like, yeah, but. And you were like, I'm gonna put my game in early access, and we're gonna keep like, sure, ironing things out. But as soon as there's a year where I think there's not enough competition to really dethrone me, let's launch it. As the early access period only had 60% of Act 1. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, so there's still plenty of game. I do find it hilarious that there was a game that everyone was playing and kind of aware of for like 3 years before it launched. It'd be like Ark Survival Evolve getting Game of the Year, you know what I mean? Where I'm like, yeah, but I don't really feel like this game came out this year. This game came out last year and maybe officially launched this year, but that doesn't feel right. I still think Baldur's Gate should have won. I love the Baldur's Gate 1 and all that stuff. I just think it's an interesting concept. I didn't really know. I thought Baldur's Gate maybe had early access at like the very beginning of the year and then released like 4 months later, which I thought made sense. But no, apparently it's been accessed for 3 years, and I thought, whew, that's a good bit of time to be sitting there cooking in everyone's mind. The fact that it didn't age out of like, it didn't become boring though, is also a testament to how good it is. Because normally a game being in early access means that interest would die over time. Fluff says that's Nintendo / Zelda fanboys being fanboys. So saying Zelda is the perfect game. Yeah, I do like the idea of, it's not saying that Zelda is the best game. It's not even saying this game is the best game this year. It's saying that it is a perfect game, meaning all the tenets in which you would assume a game to be reflective of its quality. Not necessarily it's like the best of it, but just the idea that it has all of these things that define something to be stable, enough content, iterated upon itself, added new features, those kinds of things. To me, it makes it an interesting argument for like Zelda being a really perfect game, especially with how most games are half-baked this in 2024 or 2023, sorry. As an early period, Tears of the Kingdom was Breath of the Wild, but better. Yeah, I don't know. I heard that argument, Fluff. But I maybe you're right. I just think the fact that they added so much with the sky areas, and like they didn't just redo dungeons completely. Like there was tons of different dungeons. Like it seemed like there was plenty of new content there, and they also added 2 new features. Like I would agree if they didn't add the housing system or like the combined system. And like a bunch of new areas, like there was an underground area. Yeah, to me, I think it felt, even just from an outsider perspective, that it felt like it was quite a lot. Like it did a lot for it to be Breath of the Wild but better. Which I agree that if we're I hope when people say it's like Breath of the Wild but better, they're not saying like it's basically like a Breath of the Wild DLC. I'm like, I don't know, that's fair, man. It feels like a brand new game that really upped the ante. Yeah, where it didn't really have to. I think like people would have been, like the fanboys would have been happy just playing like Breath of the Wild 2.0 with more content to do. You know, I say this as a person who hasn't played it, but yeah, a fantastic sandbox game, but would never be bold to call it perfect. Yeah, again, I think it's maybe the definition of perfect being a weird thing for me, because I think perfect. Again, I don't think we've seen a perfect, like a game that's stable in like the last 3 years, you know? Yeah, I can't think of any game that's been like rock solid. Granted, maybe it's because it only released on one platform, which also is probably helping the fact that it's stable, because it only has one platform to stabilize. Perhaps the closest thing to being a perfect Switch game, yeah. I mean, I just like when I try to contrast something with the same thing that it did, where it's like it has, if we were to take all the things that Breath of the Wild did, stable engine, no loss of latency, added physics, added combining, like a ton of complex combining variation, I think, at least to some extent, and then added like a housing system, added a bunch of new quests, added 2 new levels. I think there was like a heaven area and then like a underground area, and all that stuff. And then contrasting that with like a game like Starfield, it's broken and it doesn't really run really well, and there's not a lot of like physics in it. It's just some interchanging mechanics. Like the shipbuilding is kind of complex, but still, I can't like compare it to another thing. Maybe, and if I did, it'd be something that was completely out of its category, like Baldur's Gate, which I feel like isn't necessarily, like, if it feels weird to compare them to. Yeah, but like to me, I can't find the comparison point of all the things it has, and that those things are stable, and then show it to another game and be like, yes, this game has done all of those things that are tenets of game design and like sequels and having a good value that these other games just haven't had, you know? Perhaps, I mean, it won't, I mean, it won Best Adventure Game, so at least it got that much recognition. Yeah, I think it's all, I feel like this year everyone was like, Game Awards is gonna be dog shit. They're saying that, like, these are the, what do you call it, these are the contestants and all that stuff. I always feel like Game Awards is like the best, how do I put it? It's like a really good representation, usually, for something that is like close enough. Also, I can't even. Are you ready to fluff? Are you ready, Fluff, for No Man's Sky, where you can play a bunny man in a weird fantasy, mostly, probably, who knows, alien place? This is No Man's Sky game, I think. Anyways, I don't know what I was fucking saying. Some shit. Oh, Game Awards, to me, I think is like the best overall vibe. Like, I think most people are like, it makes sense. Okay, fine. Even though I heard a lot of people say that like Game Awards aren't actually like, they're judged very carefully, where like it's a bunch of like sects of like news coming together to like decide and all these weird things of like, it's like super impartial. They also try to be. There's no like debate, but it feels the opposite. It feels like it's literally a bunch of bros around a table being like, there's a lot of great games. How do we make sure everyone gets their flowers and it makes sense, and everyone can go, I don't like it, but I kind of get it. You know what I mean? Like, that seems to be the overall vibe of Game Awards. I feel like this year people were like, I'm not sure about it. Spider-Man 2 had 7 nominations, but understandably didn't win any of those. Yeah, I heard the same thing. I heard people say that, like, Spider-Man 2 is an amazing game. But I don't know. It doesn't feel wrong that that happened. You know? Fluff says, I also personally prefer the musical score of Alan Wake 2 over any of the others. But I don't fully disagree with Final Fantasy. Really? Oh, that was one that shocked me the most. I remember I was watching. That was what I think a lot of people were shocked by. I heard a lot of people say that the Final Fantasy music nomination. There was like 2 songs that were really like stand out offish when it comes to the Final Fantasy game. But everyone was. I think everyone was kind of like, why the fuck didn't the game that's literally all about music and rhythm win the fucking music and rhythm category? Also, it has, like, by far the most variation of music. And I think you're able to find one song in Hi-Fi Rush that you're like, I fuck with that one badly. You know, whereas I think you could show a lot of people Final Fantasy who just aren't into orchestral, and they'll be like, yeah. You know? Alone Singers says, actually, Grin, I did not spend any money on these waifus. Justice, the currency I had already. Oh, I see. But did that all from events, or did you have some like leftover money? Because don't cheat yourself from your past actions. Okay, I'm just gonna dump some money in this game. Oh, look, I got lucky. Well, technically that money doesn't exist, and I didn't dump it in there. Raid says, man, I just woke up like 30 minutes ago and I'm already super hungry. Dude, Raid, we are different people, man. I feel like I never get hungry when I wake up. I always get hungry like maybe way down the line. Also, what's it, T-Fark? T-Fark says, play Let It Die update? What? Play the Let It Die update question mark? So it's not play Let It Die update, it's play Let It Die update? It's funny. No, I don't think so, T-Far. I haven't played it. I feel like it's wrong for me to continue to keep perpetuating that I'm going to be playing and covering Let It Die, just because I haven't played it for a long time. I love the game deeply, but I don't have any interest in going back and playing it, and I feel like it's bad to keep people on like a carrot on the string kind of thing. And also, I don't feel like it helps my YouTube system type thing at all. Like, I keep signaling to people, like to YouTube and to people, that, hey, my GRINN channel, whenever I release a Let It Die video, people watch it. So that must mean this is a Let It Die channel. This must mean your content is for Let It Die people, because all that stuff happens, and I feel like it's just a bad system to send to YouTube, especially when I'm not really considering playing games like Let It Die either. I'm not exactly overly in love with games that are like Souls-likes. So it just doesn't make sense for me to continue to play that and support that, or not support that. I would always support it, but I can't perpetuate it, I don't think. Especially when I feel like I'm doing a disservice to what the Let It Die community would also really enjoy seeing, because I'm half-assing it. So I'm kind of like, I'm not really into this, but no one else is covering this, so I feel obligated to cover it. So it's a little bit of like a, you know. Awesome, man. Thank you, T-Fark. I'm really in love with VR right now, and VR content to me is something really special and unique to show off and to kind of like share an experience that I think is really meaningful and fun and unique with people. I just need to find better ways to kind of connect people, to like get people to take a, what's the way to phrase it? To give people the opportunity to see if they like it or dislike it, because I feel like no one's really searching VR stuff. So you have to connect it to something that they would be interested in, like, oh, Call of Duty is trending and people are really into Call of Duty. Well, can I do a VR video of Call of Duty-esque things? I think that bridge the gap so people can give that a try, because I think a lot of people actually do like VR content when they see it, which is hard for people to make it a commonplace, you know? But yeah, T-Fark says, I want some AR glasses in the future. Ooh, T-Fark, I hope you can get them, man. Although, T-Fark, have you ever played with VR? Because, man, I don't know, I feel like if you can, there's a lot of things. One, I love VR. I do think a lot of people would wear VR, they get absolutely mystified by it, But the idea also that's evident is that VR is kind of taxing. It's not easy to do all the time, you know? Like, you're having to physically move, and you'll feel tired, and you'll feel a little winded. To me, that's exciting because I like exercise and stuff like that, and it makes me think like, okay, I'm also kind of helping in increasing movement patterns that I don't normally use. Awesome. But also, I think a lot of people would just get drained by it and be like, I'm just gonna fucking play like Minecraft and like sit down. Which you can also do with VR, you can sit down, but I think it's always gonna be something that's a little bit heftier. But yeah. T-Fark said, no, I don't say that about yourself, T-Fark. But I think it'd be a good idea to try. Also, I think, yeah, VR glasses would be rad. Although I do think AR has not proven itself to be interesting yet with what we've seen of it. Like, I think AR glasses are the thing that's interesting, but no one has shown an experience that to me would be interesting in AR. Like, outside of having like a TV appear on your wall and like having a scroll menu and you like scrolling, kind of like what Apple showed off. Like, these are the setups that would be interesting for you to use these applications in, whereas all of a lot of meta and stuff like that seemingly haven't shown those moments yet. So it kind of just, it's like you can fight zombies and your wall in your room will fall down and you're fighting a zombie through a portal in your wall, and I'm like, this just sounds awful. Why don't I just have a whole world of my portal and I can see everything and it'll all be weird and all be unique? Like, what? What are we doing? Anyways, where the heck is it? Also, Lone, I finished the goddamn amazing the Duke of Death and his maid. I loved the way they ended it. Although I do say we didn't get that. We never got a glow up for our boy. I was hoping that I asked you about it. I was hoping that like the main Duke of Death would get like some sort of ability, like where he can actually like use his death touch or something like that, like touch the ground and like have it just like ravage whatever he wants, or like reach harder or reach further, that kind of thing. Didn't get any of that, but I do think what you were trying to hint at is that eventually they're all gonna get something. Like they're right now in the school arc, which I love. I love that they just threw that in there because I was starting to get kind of like bored with the show a little bit. Like I wanted something else to chew on. Like I wanted them just to figure it out. Apparently the next season, Lone, is the last season, so it's all gonna be wrapped up then. But yeah, I'm mad excited to see where they did. But yeah, the fact that they went into like a school arc randomly, and the fact they're all like learning and they're gonna get like unique magic tools and stuff to fight with is fucking sick. So I can't wait to see what his is. Anyway, Dragon's Dogma. I forgot about that. Dragon's Dogma is gonna be huge. It's in March, so we do have some other things to look forward to. What's good, Red? Stroked out there, man. Fluff says, Phoenix, yep. I'll need to refresh myself on what's coming next year. February seems to be quite busy. Suicide Squad, Grin, don't. Oh, I forgot about that. Suicide Squad. So we have 3 games: Dragon's Dogma, Suicide Squad, and then Avowed. I don't think Outer Worlds is coming out this year. But a lot of big hitters with summer or later. Oh, I see. Lone says, been sweet. Fluff says, honestly, my job is terrible about communicating important information. Oh, shit. Fluff says, and to, I also think that like, 50, yeah, like you're like, you have you're working at a place and they're like, yeah, just do your thing. And then you're working, and then you get like a debilitating injury that puts you out for like a couple days. And they're like, oh, you dummy, you're supposed to be stretching for the first 15 minutes. And they're like, why did you tell me that? And they're like, we like that you kept working hard and we didn't want to have you stop. And some young people can like kind of just fucking punch through it. So fuck it. But yeah, now you're out for 2 weeks. It was stupid to do that. Hey, fix yourself. I mean, it makes sense in a fucked up way. And redeem sick pay. Supposedly I need to do some sort of paperwork within 72 hours or so. Ooh. Fluff says Dragon's Dogma 2 is coming in March. 2. Oh, golly. Oh, really? There's 2 things coming out in March? Ooh. I hate when things are back to back like that. Similar. Okay, there's another game that's similar to Divinity Original Sin 2. Okay. Fluff says they let it cook for as long as they felt necessary. The Act 1, 2. Yeah. It's also why Baldur's Gate deserves best community support. That was weird. I think we all felt that way. But also, I think a lot of people didn't really. it was one of those ones where like I get it again. It feels because maybe it's like 3 years of community support, but it's also like, but what the fuck, like that? It just feels like that's the best way to put it. It feels like it has a really strong advantage in a way. Like this other game basically gets it comes out in 12 months and it gets 12 months of whatever it can generate. Whereas Baldur's Gate's like we have 3 years of like excess community support that you might not even be familiar with in the current year that it came out. But yeah, and like that doesn't. Well, none of these other competitors had fucking this much lead up. Maybe Cyberpunk being the only one. I guess not, because a lot of the other ones were technically old too. It just feels weird. It just feels so weird. Maybe it's also because I haven't seen Baldur's Gate. No one knows. I haven't heard anything about Baldur's Gate's community support. Whereas like you've seen Cyberpunk's like community updates and patches and mod support and things like that. And you've seen all these other games like Genshin like constantly updates live service and things like that, adding like communications for a community. Like they feel more obvious, where I feel like I could pull a lot of people, like the majority of people, on what like this game. How good do you think this game's community support would be? Bang, and they would say like 10. If it was Genshin, probably 10, as long as it's not endgame content. But I think a lot of other people would be like, Baldur's Gate has a community support? What do you mean? Is it a live service game or something? Even though that's probably not what it should mean, but I feel like that should overall vibe. Since it released in August, Baldur's Gate 3 has 5 major patches, most of which filled with fixes and additional based on player feedback. I see, but that feels so weird because it's I don't know. It feels weird because it's early access, so of course it would. Yeah, I don't know. Did Ark Survival evolve when in previous years? Because that to me would also but it's weird because like the category is almost aimed towards people who are early access games. Like community support by definition is early access games or like live service games. So it feels weird to like have a category that feels like it's very much for a specific 5% of video games or 1% of video games that are early access and such. Again, I don't disagree that Baldur's Gate should have won necessarily. I do disagree with just that it was confusing a touch. I haven't played, but never finished. I mostly felt like it was a Breath of the Wild. Should have been. Okay. It's similar sense to how Spider-Man 2 takes more of the better aspects of the last 2 installments and then improved upon it, but otherwise could be felt as more of the same. Yeah, I'm gonna completely come clean here. I can't, like, this is not gonna make sense to you or anyone probably else, but like it's been such a long time, Fluff, for me that I have ever like. It's been such a long time since I felt satisfied in that way of like, oh, holy shit, I really, really liked this thing. And then a sequel comes out, maintains all of the things that I liked and added other things that I liked. To me, it's been probably like 8 years since I felt that way. The only thing I've ever felt that way from is Fable 1 to Fable 2, because Fable 2 added so much shit, it took away a little bit of stuff, but it added so much shit, I felt like it just made everything better. Assassin's Creed 2 to Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, I felt the same way. I felt like Holy Revelations even. I felt like I loved this. They added slightly new things, and I didn't have enough of those new things, and then I have even more. It's been such a long time since I've ever felt satisfied and like harmonized, essentially. Like they were onto something, and then they fucking nailed it. It's been such a long time since I felt that way with the sequel, because most of the time nowadays sequels, if it's gonna have a number 2 ahead of it, it might be nothing like the previous game, i.e. Prey and things like that, or it's gonna be a game that like, oh, we added this new thing, but we also destroyed every other thing, or like 40% of what was in the previous game. So if you like that shit, tough. Now we have this new mechanic that you want to use, right? And I'm like, I kind of like the old mechanic. And you're like, well, tough. And you have to just use these new mechanics. And it feels like it's this feeling of going backwards and forwards and backwards, where mechanics are not just being added on top of each other, and like the game is becoming better through each iteration. And instead, it's just becoming like it's becoming worse in a different way, essentially, like where they're taking away mechanics and adding new ones. But you love those old mechanics. So the idea that, like, to me, I would love that. What you just described, as much as it might be a criticism to some things, it's been fucking forever since I felt that. The feeling of, I like this thing a lot, and they just made it better. They just added to it. They perfected it. I've never had that in such a long time. That makes me sad. Okay. The trade-off. One says, Grin, have you watching it? Yeah, I finished the Duke of Death. Nailed that one out. I fucking loved it, Lone. It's definitely, again, I can't stress enough how they had that like perfect flip, where just as you were starting to get bored, they were like, and here's a new thing. But like the timing was so good right when they added it. Alice is still peak. I can't wait for them to like resolve their issues. The cliffhanger at the end with the mom was interesting. I do think it was really dumb. Like, it was like one of the stupidest, like the whole show, they're kind of like, they make sense, like what the actions they do in the Duke of Death, but they kind of fall apart the last minute. They're like, let's just go back in time and fuck with shit. And you're like, what? Are you an idiot? Like, what is going on? And then seemingly like nothing really happens. It's that bad. And you're like, this is equally bad because like you didn't get punished, even though I'm sure it's like this weird thing where like Alice's mom is now getting fucking hijacked or some shit. I don't know. Also, T-Fark says, what's your personal game of the year? My personal game of the year for like games that aren't VR games, which is weird, but yeah, it has to be Hi-Fi Rush. To me, Hi-Fi Rush was, I'm sure it was like a perfect storm, T-Fark, but like, I think it was just that it came out of nowhere, and oh my god, was it a game that to me felt like a game that we haven't had in a long time, like a game that just had so much heart, so much style. Like, I've always been a person, I think, who's loved games that were like odd or different or weird. Like, I love games like Don't Starve. I love games like Sunset Overdrive. I love games like Fable. Like, none of these games are necessarily like the most selling, the highest played rate, but they're different. Like Shadows of the Damned, Killer is Dead, I think is what it's called. I love these kind of obscure games that just have so much style and heart. And holy shit, did that game have so much style and heart. And also it did like amazingly unique things. Like it revamped the Devil May Cry hitting system and made it feel so good. Like so good. Especially with like, it's so much easier to wrap my head around like beats and like hitting within rhythm and how fucking satisfying it feels to like tap your foot. Like I could imagine how much carpal tunnel happened with people's necks because they were just like, ooh, ooh. Turning monkey on us, but it's so good. And then the character design, dude, every fucking character looks hot and sick and cool. Fucking love it so much. Also the boss fights, it had such a good idea. It was like right when it was starting to get boring, they're like, by the way, here's this new parry system that you're gonna love. And at every step of the way, they always, like, there's so many times when you're playing a video game in 2013 where basically, or 2023, sorry, where you're basically like, oh, this is the mechanic from X. Oh, this is the mechanic identical to FromSoft games. Oh, this is the mechanic I've seen here. Like, there's nothing new. So the fact that they were like, here's a parry, but here's a fucking parry, dude. Here's a parry that's just to make you feel like you can totally hit the mark. It's also a game that's not trying to like, it's difficult, but it's doing it in a really clever way to where like you can get much better. Oftentimes things feel hard for the sake of being hard, and in Hi-Fi Rush it felt like, no, this is difficult so that when you finally get that rhythm, when you finally start feeling that beat, it just feels like you're a fucking god. And also you're banging your head banging to the music as you're just ripping shit to shreds. Every time you smash into a robot, it completely explodes. It's like a mixture of fucking Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter, mixed with like stylized beautiful things like from anime and like the cell shadedness to it all. The character designs look rad. It does have that, like, again, it does have that like kind of Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter kind of like cartoon charm and silliness, but still feels mature. The music and the soundtrack is fucking to die for. I love it. I love like that punk rock aesthetic. I can't wait if they ever make a sequel to that game. I hope they dip into like hardcore metal and shit, hardcore rap maybe, some fun things like that, orchestral, and yeah, golly. Also, again, I do think it helped that it was a game that came out of nowhere. Like, it was a game that came out, and like I had no expectations. Like I mentioned this a little while ago, T-Fark, but like if we seen that game, I think like at E3, and I seen it like kind of pass by in like a trailer form, I think I'd have expectations of like, oh, it's a cool rhythm game. Oh, it's kind of unique. That's kind of creative. And then we probably would see like a Steam game do the same thing, and it would kind of lose its novelty and all that stuff. And we also have expectations of what it is. But the fact that it came out of nowhere, I seen like 2 videos pop up on my sub feed about a person playing it, and everyone was just like, "This is awesome." Everyone was playing it out of nowhere. It was so fun. It was like it was just had so much heart out of nowhere. Like it was a great case of like when there's no perception of a game's quality. Low expectations. When you have low expectations, things can easily be hit out of the park, which could also be the case for Hi-Fi Rush. But that's my game of the year. My VR game, I'd have to think about a little bit more. Like, give me a couple minutes. I just want to catch up on chat, so I'm kind of like, ooh. I'm also like, Red says also No Man's Sky has not generally fulfilled what I want out of a space game. I will say, Red, I love you, but I feel like you have a very specific space game desire. Like, I'm not sure if No Man's Sky was ever like. And I always try to judge things for what they are trying to achieve, not necessarily what I want them to achieve, which is not necessarily true. I sometimes do the same thing. Sometimes I'm like, fucking, I want it to be this and that, and yeah. Yeah, a lot of awards were kind of bullshit because Hi-Fi Rush won Best Audio Design. I know, but I feel like, I don't know, am I the only one who, like, if I were to tell you Best Audio Design or Best Music and an Instrumental or whatever it was, I feel like music and instrumental is far better of a fucking category to win. I feel like, what do you mean audio design? What the fuck does that mean? I feel like that means like acoustic hitting maybe, but it doesn't mean music. I feel like when music is such a broader, bigger term than audio design, even though audio design could potentially mean everything, but in meaning everything, you mean nothing. You know what I mean? But I'd say even so, I didn't actually like most. Really, that's fucking wild to me. I fucking loved that's crazy to me. I don't know how you couldn't love it because you're like beating shit apart to it. It's hard to appreciate it with the game sounds, but the game sounds make it. You're basically hitting like a snare as you're smashing a bunch of bolts. Like yeah, that's a weird take to me. Red says, I agree with Fluff. Y'all, it's crazy to me. Final Fantasy is renowned for having some of the most memorable music scores. Yeah, this is one of those things that I don't know. I don't know. I go by like what people tend to listen to. I don't see people busting out Final Fantasy, soundtracks ever really. Besides if it's like, only if it's meant for a specific mood, a specific tone, in like a video maybe. But yeah, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if we go to like Spotify plays, maybe it has like, well, I think that's not fair because Final Fantasy is just such a fucking beloved game that I feel like just the quantity of advertising that it has had on it overshines Hi-Fi Rush by a lot. But yeah. I wish more games would be fair. Yeah, me too. This new Fable, I have... Don't do this to me! I too have some fears, but I still think I'll love it. Like, I think I'm just so desperate for a Fable-esque game. If it has morality in it, I'll probably dig it. I hope it has its cheeky British humor. I hope it doesn't have fucking Gen Z cheeky British humor, which it likely will have. And I hope we were able to still do like a lot of the things that made Fable important to me. We talked about this right around the time when we first seen Fable, but I kind of lost my train of thought of like what makes Fable Fable. I'm sure we'll bring it up again and we'll get to it. But I forgot what I said last time, which I felt like it was appropriate, but now I just lost it. We'll need... Yeah, Fortuna. Nothing happening in Genshin, says Fluff, really. We'll need Peter Molyneux to climb out of the deep and resurrect Lionhead to get a proper Fable game again. Dude, you guys have no idea how much stupid brain time I have. And it sucks because Peter Molyneux is one of those guys who has been... If those that don't know, Peter Molyneux is a guy who made Black and White, Fable, and a bunch of other kind of like super unique games. But those are his big ones. But he was always touted as being like a psychopath, like a total fucking freak. where he has like and if you I've watched him like appear in like a gaming commentary thing back in the day, and he seems like a really genuine guy, but he totally 100% is like the art student guy. Like, he wears a turtleneck, he talks about like everything to him is beautiful, and like he'll talk about things in their mysticism and their majesty, like just super a person who loves the arts essentially. And the thing he was criticized the most for is like, you overpromised everything. You said that like one of his things that he said was there was going to be like a blade of grass that you would be able to see turn into a tree and then turn into and then like decay, and it was all going to happen in Engine, this living world that like ages and does all that stuff. And people were like, Peter Molyneux lied. Meanwhile, there was aging in Fable. There was all this like, again, it's the epitome of somebody who is like clearly an incredible mind, incredible creative, but also only was able to kind of survive because he had probably a bunch of massively overworked devs who were like, he said we would do what? Okay, no, we cannot do that. What we can do is we can have the character kind of age. We can just implement a new model at certain story beats, which would signal that time has been passing. But yeah, we can't have them fucking everything age. We can have the character age. You can be like a little tiny teen kid who looks like a guppy, and then at the end of the game, you're a fucking fully grown 40-year-old man who has like a wife and kid. Sure, that's fine, but that's what we can do. Not the whole thing. But even still, that's amazing. You know how many games have that? Like an aging system? Even like Smoke and Mirrors? None! Fucking none! And if it is, it's like, it's meaningless. You know, at least in Fable, it's literally about you being a teenager, being a guppy hero, and then becoming like a fucking savior of Albion and having a fucking family. And like coming home to your wife as you're either like grotesquely overweight or you're like beefy as hell or you're like a mage. Oh man, I love Fable so much. But Peter Molyneux is one of those people who's like an undeniable eccentric that overpromised the world, and that shot for the stars. But I would always argue we got the fucking moon. We also got the moon because of the developers that probably enabled or tried to live up to his expectations or live up to his words. But still. Lone says, I do want to tell you about 2 anime. Hit me with it. I watched an anime called Peter Grill. Yeah? Please enlighten me what this mysterious anime is called and about. And Philosopher's Time and My Girlfriend is a shinobi. Yeah, basically it's like a gara or some shit, whatever it's called. But I get it. I've heard about some of these, except for Peter Grills. Of course, I wouldn't hear about that one at all. Red says, I'm not sure I'd want that either, Fluff. What did Fluff say? Oh, the Peter Molyneux? No, I think we would love Peter Molyneux. I just think we need Peter Molyneux who like we just can't let him talk to press. We can totally have him be a dreamer and like dream up these super obscure designs and like have people have to make something out of them because they're like, again, it's kind of like art. To me, I believe art is like a really good example of a core fundamental human thing that people discern as being beautiful. Like there's something to this that is just magical. But a lot of times art is so busy that you can't actually deduce what that exactly is. And a lot of the developers were able to deduce exactly what that is. Okay, what is the feeling of that would impact the player if the whole world was aging? Well, we can't make the whole world age, but we can make the player themselves, the tiny boy, like becoming a man essentially, or the tiny girl becoming a hero, becoming a woman. We can do that, and that could be meaningful. And we could actually, like, and even Fable 3 did a decent job about this, where Fable 3, like, you gotta see your caretaker guy age with you. And you got to see him become really, really old and later die. And that was kind of meaningful as far as like what it means to live and what it means for time to pass and things like that. Fluff says Hi-Fi Rush shouldn't have won art direction, although Alan Wake does have its moments. That's true too. Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I don't know. It does seem like the Game Awards was very much like, we need to give them something. We need to give them something. Sure. Fluff said, yeah, that would actually be really good. I'd rather have Hi-Fi Rush win art design, just because I want more games to do that. I want more games to utilize stylization rather than depth of, like, Alan Wake is still one of those games that has like the most realistic skin pores you've ever seen, and you're like, bitch, I don't care about this. I don't need to see the fucking wrinkles in your face. I need to see your motion, reaction, and art. Anyways, that's maybe me being selfish about my specific desires, but I feel like a lot of people like that. Look at Genshin, or Honkai, or ZZZ, any of these things. There are games that are like amazing style, and they run on fucking iPhones because they're efficient to do that. Like, if you could take away a lot of your processing time about making realistic skin textures, and instead take all the time you would put into that, the art design of the game, or the 3D modeling of the game, and instead put that into actual gameplay complexity, that'd be amazing. I'd say Swan Vecchi is Deus, Baldur's Gate 3, Peter Molyneux is always Fable. Oh, I say Swan Vecchi is DOS BG 3 as Peter Molyneux was to Fable. Ooh, maybe that'd be interesting. I don't know who is Swan. I don't know who that is. But is that the guy who came up with armor? Yeah, mad eccentric. Yeah, you need eccentric people, especially in game design. But my favorite example of game design is that where like everyone's like, you know what, we just need developers to like make games, and we need to support developers making games. And then, like, fuck publishers is basically what they're saying. And I agree with some of that statement, because publishers can be, like, awful, and they can be, like, extracting money from human beings constantly. But I also think Peter Molyneux, that game, Star Citizen, that's not fucking finished yet at all, and those are examples of, like, listen, a lot of artists are a wee bit eccentric and can't fucking calm down. Another great example from a game dev. It's like there's two notorious game devs that I'm aware of that are like, they have a reputation around them. The other game developer that I know, that I not know, but I've heard a lot of stuff about, and I've watched like documentaries about them, is the guy that made Bioshock. For those guys don't know, Bioshock Infinite was like restarted like fucking 15 times. And apparently the guy who makes Bioshock, which is a fucking brilliant game, wonderful series, like easily Hall of Fame game to me, Bioshock. But he was notorious for being like, just like, oh, we'll restart development. Oh, I have a new idea. Let's do this instead. And it's just like, it's I'm sure 2K, I think they eventually had to fire him or something like that. Or maybe he quit. But like, I think they basically forced him to launch the game. Like, you can't keep rebooting the game. Like, we keep burning. I think we're like 500 million in the hole at this point. And yeah, he's one of those developers that is notorious for being like taking way too much time, not realizing that we need to make money too. We can't just live on nothing. And I think him and Peter Molyneux are like the best examples of like, maybe we need people who are like realists, who are in the room, who are like, no, we can't restart the game and do this other weird obscure thing. We cannot. What we might be able to do is add that to it, maybe later, maybe within a DLC. We'll do a DLC for you. How about that? They needed something, and then Peter Molyneux just needs to be hidden away like a little goblin in the corner and be like, you just keep thinking up those ideas, you throw them at us, we'll figure it out if we can manage something, and we'll run it. Don't let him out. Don't let him out of the closet. You lock him in that closet. You keep him in there. This is not the proverbial gay closet that we so often hear about in in media. But we won't get Fable-like from Illyria. I'm hopeful that we can get some of the, because even if we don't get like the essence of what Fable to me is, which is like this whimsical humor with this ability of that you can become a hero, this role-playing feeling, this feeling like you can have a family, you can become good, you can become evil, you can feel like you're lost in this world. Even if we don't get some of those, I do think if we just had all of the tenets of Fable that were on paper, I still think it'd be a game we haven't gotten in a couple of years, with like morality, with customization with your character, with RPG mechanics basically, with like evolving stuff, like the ability for you to eat food and get fat, the ability for you to use magic and get like gnarly tattoos against your will because you can't help it, because magic is literally combusting out of your flesh because that's what you're doing all day, so it's going to leave a mark. Shit like that, like there's cost and benefit and all that stuff within your system. I don't think we've gotten a game with mechanics like that in a while. I would still love it, even if we don't have exactly the essence of Fable, you know? He's just a passionate and mad genius of a creator. Yeah, that's what I feel like is a good way to put it. That's good. I feel like he might I haven't heard a lot of eccentricities from him, so I imagine he is able to lock it back a little bit. Peter Grill, one says, Peter Grill and the Philosopher's Time is about a warrior. Peter Grill becomes the strongest fighter, but that title came with an unexpected consequence. Women around the world, both human and women, monster. Those guys don't know. Peter Grill, it's a notorious thing within the anime community where it's basically an anime about a guy who is in like a fighting arena. He's like the strongest swordsman in the entire world. He's like one of these people who are just blitzkrieging like dragons like nothing. But instead of focusing on how overpowered he is, they focus on the fact that there's a lot of like subcultures of creature in a fantasy world. There's like Oni girls, there's goblin girls, there's dragon girls, there's all of these. Why am I mentioning girls? Well, because the premise of the anime is basically what would happen if there was someone who is such a complete genetic specimen and was notoriously well known around the world. Well, you get thirsty bitches coming around. Trying to get after it, okay? Trying to increase their tribes, whatever. And it's like, it's a notorious one that's like, this is a fucking anime setup if I've ever heard it. And it's just that. It's not too, it's a wee bit, it gets really close without showing anything. Kind of like Japan, Harada, you know? But yeah, it's pretty notorious in the anime community. I've seen like ambas of it, and I was like, what is this? And I'm like, this is getting real close to the wire. And it apparently never gets beyond that, but still. Red says, I mean, I love No Man's Sky, but yeah, it's a ship. Its ship gameplay is far from what I want about a space game. No Man's Sky was more about planets than space. That's true, I agree with that. Although there were like giant freighters, though, I thought. Like you get these massive skyscraper ships, I thought, as well. Jeff says, again, audio design is the broader category. Music score just applies to the music a lot. Yeah, I get it. To me, my whole perspective is my perspective of what I think human beings innately would assume. I think most people would assume the music category to be more of like a meaningful award than something that I don't even know if people really know as a category. Right? Like it's almost like saying best humans, and you're like, what? Best humans in games. Okay, or no, that's bad now because that's kind of hyper specific. Best visual fidelity, best visual, you know, and you're like, what? Like, is it art style or is it like, it's all of it, just everything? I feel like people get lost in the sauce. But I'm happy either one. Like if your definition of it makes it feel way more deserved and better, that it's like it's everything. It's music. It's everything. I love that. That's why I feel like I feel Light No Fire will be a better. Dude, I feel the same way, Fluff. I'm way more excited for Light No Fire, man. I especially when I see all the like. Again, that's what I want. I want detail. Like I want the opposite of No Man's Sky. I want not a million light years deep. I want a couple miles deep or a couple miles long. Fucking bottomless depth, baby. I want Minecraft shit of like just complete like, oh, here's 2 mechanics. You can build the whole world. I want that. Oh, you want to have a companion system? Here's the whole thing. You want to fight monsters? Here's the whole framework. You know what I mean? I want that. Lost it. I'm lost it so much. My chat is fucking sprinting away on me. Where are we going? Focus it on a single production war rather than massive production. Red says, yeah, that Gen Z humor, FFS, also a few other reasons I have doubts about Fable. I can hope. I still stand by my statement. I think if as long as it hits some tenets of like Fable gameplay, that's been gameplay that we haven't felt in a long, long time. So here's hoping. At least it's a fun game, you know. Although, man, I don't know. Oh, I'm so easy, boys. I was like, as much as I want to say that, if I also heard the Fable music box, I'm in. I'm that easy. I'm like, my Albion, my beautiful home, this wonderful, possibly evil, who knows, deity who is like this mystic woman who talks to you and shit. Oh, I'd be so locked in. It'd take 2 seconds of hearing that music box and I'm like, I'm home. I'm gonna cry. Word rather than massive production Galaxy. Yeah, it's the same thing I was saying. Alone says, want to bear. Yep. Red says, agree. Fluff, light, no fire. Seems like it'll be might be more enjoyable. Yes. Fluff says, Molinix is very eccentric, but his dreams were often far bigger than the possible scope of the game. Exactly. So what happened with Fable Trilogy was essentially condensed into happening with No Man's Sky before it got many post-launch years of positive. Yeah, exactly. And farting in people's faces. What? Oh yeah, forgot about that. Yeah, the Fable thing. You do a lot of stuff in Fable. I don't know, weird shit. I always remember the Fable dance, where I'm sure it's just a Russian dance, but it was more like left and right. I just remember you holding your arms like this, and you're like kicking your arm like a V, or your legs like a V. I guess there's a Russian dance that's like straightforward kicks, but in Fable I remember there being like left, right, this massive change. It was great. Certain promises only came with the next title. There was a lot of promise to be in Fable 2. It didn't happen until Fable 3. Yeah, but see, Fable 2 is also, as much as I love Fable, it also had that same problem where I get it's kind of an unreasonable expectation to often have for games, where to me the expectation is, I think for a lot of gamers, are basically, I expect what you delivered in the previous game in a sequel. This is why people like sequels usually. It's because I expect what I got in the previous game, but much more. Or more. Just more, or much more. If it's a good game, much more. Because I like what I got, and I want more of it. Or I want another thing to add on top of that. So I want those two things. Fable was also one of those games that when they added new stuff, they took away some other stuff. And that makes sense for like game development. Like it kind of makes sense. It makes sense when you know that most games jump engines, so you don't get to keep any of the shit that you just designed. Usually, you have to kind of like remake a lot of it. But it would be lovely if we could live in a world like that, and if we could have like an engine that was so advanced that like it would be fine if you stayed on that engine for 10 years. Because it takes 5 years to develop the game, and 5 more years to develop more stuff on top of the mechanics you already developed, and things like that. But yeah. But when you start getting into like, this is what's crazy about like sequels, is like when you start getting into like Fable 3, you're like, we need to now stack 2 the mechanics and then even more mechanics and then even more, like, no game should go beyond 3. No game probably should, except for Fable. After a reboot, when it comes out, like, Fable should go on forever, okay? but yeah, I feel like that's the case. And most developers don't think that way at all. Most developers are like, yeah, we'll just take away some shit. Just take away some shit and add this one new thing. And then they just are on their 7th sequel. Fluff says, and certain promises only came in Fable 2 and when 3 ended up being a messier game, Fable 2 is the sweet spot of the I agree. Fable 2 is the sweet spot. I agree. Ooh, Fable 3 to me was also enjoyable though. But it was a good example of like, yeah, they took a lot out just to make some of the other stuff fit. But yeah. But yeah. Oh my nose. Although I have a greater love for Fable, the original Fable, and Lost Chapters, yeah. It was definitely the least polished and very tough, rough around the edges. but most likely what I loved. Yeah. I would say Black and White was also one of those games that like so good. Again, like it's the best. Like it's like Peter Molyneux, 100% an artist, 100% probably on mushrooms, and just fucking coming out with the most obscure designs. Like you play as a god and you manage your territory and you have a fluffy little furry god giganto humanoid. Yes. yes, and you can purge an entire city and drain their blood into a goblet of chanting psychopaths to give yourself magic powers to then burn other rival villages, towns apart. It's just crazy. It's just like, you're absolutely fucking nuts, essentially. It's like people gave the prompt to Peter Molyneux, like, hey, boss, you hear about these games where, like, it's like civilization building, kind of like Age of Empires, something like that? He's like, say less. Here's what I got. And they're just like, what the fuck is he talking about? Oh, he also has a British accent, which helps him make it sound like what he's saying isn't absurd. It's an absolutely fucking madness. Although I have the greatest love for the Fable game ever, that I did really like the pause screen for Fable 3 though, because being in the game, interactive elements rather than just Fable 3 is like stopwatch or whatever you go into, like go in the necklace or the belt buckle or whatever it is. Yeah, I think Fable 3 did, again, Fable 3 is a great example of, like, it's not like Peter Molyneux stopped coming out with, like, amazing ideas. Like, the idea that, like, when you go to fucking, like, charge up your sword, if you get enough heaven or hell karma, you get, like, fucking gross black wings and, like, red fucking designs all over your arm. And you just look like a beautiful, like, fallen angel or, like, a hero angel, whatever. And then you can just rip people to shreds. In Fable 3, they had, like, evolving magic and evolving weapons. But again, I think that like the design team knew that like we can't keep doing what we did in Fable 1 and then add what we did in Fable 2 and then add what we did in Fable 3 and also all this other shit that he wants. So I think one of them had to go, and unfortunately a lot of the stuff that went were like tenets of the series. But I like to say that Fable 3 didn't fucking swing for some weird obscure gameplay mechanics, and actually did pretty well with a lot of them, especially for the time. Like the evolving weapons, I realize there's games that we've had better versions of those, but it's pretty cool. Like I remember I played such a fucking goody two shoes when it comes to money and all that stuff, to where and to like with stuff like that, where I got like my sword always looks so weird because I had like a shit ton of money because I knew about the glitch, and essentially to buy up a bunch of shops, leave your PC on or your console on overnight, you wake up with $1 million, essentially you buy everything else up and you're good for the rest of the game. So I always had like golden hilts on my sword because it would track if you had a ton of cash, essentially, and it'd be like, yeah, your weapon evolved because you're fucking rich, essentially. But then I used to always I think it was like whoever you slayed the most, it would like stain your weapon in a way. I remember for some reason, I used to always get like the sand blood stain, essentially. So it was like this black blade. So it was like this golden ass hilt with this like kind of rusty iron lion head, and then like a black blade, essentially. And I was like, this looks fire. This looks fire, dude. The magic was one of the things that got absolutely shit on, though, which is sad. But also, it did do some new stuff with trying to mix stuff. Kind of, I guess. Fluff says, yeah, Fable 3 was one of the first to have no walk thing. Yeah, just a pause menu. Yeah, which I thought was great. It made me feel like it made sense, especially like the traversal and stuff like that. Fluff says, although some just make it far more tedious. Like, yeah, Warframe, I agree. I agree. Red says, did it get worse in Warframe? I have not played it in years. Yeah, I seen the trailer. We seen the trailer on E3, or not E3, through the Gamescom thing, and it looks like you were playing like a real, like a human body, like a human being, and like with a AK-47 and like Earth. So like Warframe story must be getting weird, real weird. Although some just make it more tedious. Fluff says, I mean, Alan Wake 2 had a lot of live action footage, and in-game models aren't quite that detailed, but still really good render. I must say, I feel like Alan Wake still, to me, I don't know, I guess to me everything is it's not a spectrum. It's usually like, I can either tell there's a game with like art style and stuff like that. Like I think like God of War also fits in that art style, just with the armor, with the whole aesthetic, with the with like the character. Yes, there might be some things that look human, like his body and his muscular structure and stuff like that, but I don't know. Like even if you look at Atreus doesn't look like a real kid. He looks like cartoony kid even still. Maybe not. Maybe some of them look actually pretty human. I don't know. It's weird. But I feel like this is the right amount of if there is a gray area, God of War is right in the middle, where it's just on the border edge of not being too hyper realistic. But I don't know, man. I still feel like Alan Wake is in that pretty realistic thing, like with the water effects on the body and shit and all that stuff. Like I imagine there's a scene in Alan Wake where it's raining and you can literally see like the water droplets falling down their arms and face, and their skin looks parched, like they just got water splashed on them. And I'm like, dude, who the fuck cares? Who needs this level of fucking like hyper animated realism and shit? Too much. Also, is you gonna head out, Raid? I'm pretty sure you said that. Yeah, I said this like fucking half an hour ago. Sorry, I'm taking such a long time to finish shit. Yeah, the art style, realism. Sadly, the latter is what is more common. Says Red. Fluff says not worse, just that being in the orbit takes longer to navigate. Yeah, the Warframe thing. Okay, guys, I'm just going to read through some comments. I'm going to mention anything I have a thought on. I got Warframe is all about movement, but it's not fun to bullet jump around. Yeah. Lone says, lol, imagine being 75% done with a game, all for someone to say I have a new idea to start over. Yeah, that was the nightmare stories from the guy who made BioShock. As much as I love BioShock and but it's like there's a reason why the game, like he split from 2K like a while ago, and there's a reason why his game has still not come out yet, etc. Oh, that probably happened. Yeah, more than we know. Fluff says, Grin, Swen is the guy that goes around in the suit of all. Yeah, it was him. He flaunts his I can't say the word. I've said it a lot rather than speaking, but yeah, that makes sense. That's awesome. That's fucking awesome. Anyways, I do need to get going. Yeah, I get it. Thanks for just hanging out and talking. Always love talking to you, buddy. One says, see Fluff. Red says, so because of all the GTA stuff, I was about to say, I can't believe you didn't know what I was talking about, Red. When I was like, hey, did you not see that person that like was on the penthouse and the lady who stood up and looked back at the camera? That was a fucking... I feel like collectively every single game designer was like, fuck, that's a lot of... That's going to be difficult to replicate. Oh, shit. Also, it's crazy that like GTA 5 has like broken the record of the most views and it's beaten everything. Like every YouTuber, Mr. Beast, Try Hard on stuff. It just smashed with like 80 million views in a day. Something crazy. Every like K-pop artist music just destroyed. Not even close. It's cool that it like there's every now and again where like we're in a kind of I'm in a bubble with the gaming space thing where we all are, and you hear about like K-pop's doing numbers, you hear about Twitch doing numbers, you hear about music doing stuff. And then it's good to see like, oh yeah, gaming is still by far one of the most like juiced, crazed markets in the world. Not even close. Like finally being able to do all the business activities. Wait, let me catch up. So because of all the GTA 5 stuff and a friend, I've gotten back into GTA Online. It's certainly changed a lot since I played, like finally being able to do all of the business activities in invite-only servers, not just public servers that are extremely appropriate and now make it fun to do without worrying about the grifter. I was about to say Fluff. I was about to say Fred, sorry. I was about to say Red. I think they had to do that. I think there was a lot of like, it was almost impossible to play GTA Online at a point where they were like, fuck, we need to pause everything we're doing and just try to make stable servers, essentially, invite-only servers, figure out how we're going to do that. Because, yeah, it was bad. It was like, I remember there being a time where, like, everyone who was playing GTA just couldn't because it was just rife with hackers to the point where, like, they made a way to, like, destroy every server ever by, like, doing some sort of weird thing. It was too much. But, yeah. I'm a little bit sad. I'm not like too Reddit angry about it, but I'm a little sad that it does seem like GTA, Rockstar, who has made the most money they could ever want, essentially, has decided to not release a PC version when they absolutely can. They did it for Red Dead, which is equally a big game. And yeah, I'm a little sad that there's going to be no PC release at launch. This is why I bring up the money argument for Rockstar, because it's seemingly like they're going to do the same strategy that they did prior, which is basically release the game, get as many console sales as they possibly can, and then later sell it on PC so that people who do have both will buy both, which is just kind of shitty. Because we're going to go like a whole year essentially without being able to play it, maybe even more. Who knows? If it's 6 months, that's okay. Like if they give us a 6 month delay, that's fine. But a year delay, like being able to having to wait a year, is just a little bit of like, God damn you, you know. Lone says, I am now watching Black Lagoon, currently on episode 3. Well, I've heard a lot of good things about that. Is that the one that's like this isekai? People will say it's an undervalued isekai kind of show. So you've been burning through anime, Lone. Goddamn. Have y'all heard the news about the day before I heard about it? I was kind of like, me and Fluff both were ragging on it a little bit. Maybe it was you too, Lone. But it was this game where like it was clearly a scam, like obviously a scam. And then it was finally coming out, and people were like, "Are you sure?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's coming out." And then I was like, "Oh shit!" Some people who I've been hearing like kind of talk shit about the game, I noticed started to do stuff within their videos about being like, "Yeah, so that game that people have kind of been speculating isn't real is coming out soon." And I was like, "Bitch, you are the one who's people. You who saying it was shit." It wasn't a real game. Was never going to come out. Luckily, it wasn't a real game. It shouldn't have come out because it was a piece of shit. The day before game, yeah, Alone. It's looking rough. It's like it seems like it's the quickest. Like, it's weird. It also feels like a game that there was like somebody who deeply cared, like, because there's like the environment's like pretty gorgeous, like they're pretty good for like a city post-apocalyptic thing. They're just fucking empty. Like, again, it's the best description of like one guy being really good at like the world design and all that stuff. And then just everybody else being like, yeah, what if I just fucked off and didn't do anything? You know? But it did come out. So, you know, eat your words. People, me as well. Red says, I think that would be a great world for Limited to collab with another studio like Platinum Games. Yeah. Learn to do the story and characters with Platinum doing the gameplay. Dude, that'd be fucking amazing. I'm not sure, is Lauren, is that the Baldur's Gate devs? Baldur's Gate devs working with Platinum Games. Yeah, that'd be fucking amazing. I'd be so juiced. Because, yeah, to me, like, I love so much about Baldur's Gate, I just need it in another thing. I just need it in a different style of game. Not any style. It has to be third person, first person, something. Please. Oh, I know it's... Lone says, also Grin. I finally got to the end of the chat. Oh my god. We were scrolling for a while. Lone says, also Grin, an update on my current project coming along smoothly. I have sent in the art. I can't wait to see it. We'll check it out in a minute, Lone. I was going to ask Lone. I rarely see art things pop up too much. A couple weeks ago, I seen a video from PewDiePie, who I watch on occasion now that he's very retired, etc. But he had this challenge where he tried to like learn something every day, essentially. And then he basically had 10 minutes every day because he's a new father. So he basically tried to learn something new for like, I think it was like 10 days, or it was a month or something like that. Anyways, he actually made out some progress with some of those things, which was neat. But he ended up doing like an art challenge for himself. And it was really cool and like kind of a pseudo brave, I think, because he was showing like him at day one, which looks real rough, like him who like real rough drawings, etc. But then he keeps doing it, and he does like 10 minutes every day, etc. And he keeps progressing. And he gets to the point where like he does pretty good in like, and I'm not sure if it's 10 days or if it was a month. I think it was a month of trying to draw every day. And he just draws for 10 minutes, etc. And he basically ends up being like man, like he really does improve towards the end, like a lot. But it was so funny to me because his like conclusion, which I've heard like my whole life with all the like learning books I've read, books about learning and how your brain works and how you can do better and all this stuff. But one of the things that it talks about is basically like learning and inducing yourself. How to put it? If you want to become good at something, do it to the extent in which you become frustrated, and then push beyond that frustration, and then stop. So basically, you're basically signaling to your brain that you're confused, and your brain is kind of like, I'm not sure if I really understand this. Let's just stop. I don't want to change. I don't want to do anything else. Let's just walk away if we're able to. But if you stay and you sit in that frustration, you sit in that like getting annoyed, you're lost, you're confused. But if you sit in that until you basically start to find your way again, that signals to the brain that basically, like, it almost causes damage. So that when you go to sleep that night, your brain has to do a lot of calculations to help you become more proficient at that thing. That's true with motor function, that's true with learning and things like that. So the idea is like push through frustration, so study, learn, or whatever. Push through the frustration until you feel like you're somewhat stabilized, not good, but stabilized, and then sleep. That can only take 10 minutes. But I feel like people would like do their thing for 10 minutes, not realizing that the goal is to get to a point which you're it's just hard enough to become frustrated, and then push a little bit beyond that point. And then rest helps repair your brain. Your brain can do a lot of processes when you're sleeping and basically repair it so that it can make those adjustments, and then you'll become better. Which is something he didn't really mention in the video that's really important, but I think that's what he did, because he only does 10 minutes every day, but he seemingly does send it. He seemingly sends it in that 10 minutes and gets frustrated and scrabbles out some stuff and stuff like that. And then there were like two other things that he did that I forgot. It was one of the things that I was like, this is that thing I read in the book like 2 years ago that's happening. But it was really cool to see anyway. But I thought of you when I seen the video, because I thought, oh yeah, it's just like a person going through their art journey essentially, and also showing how much you can like do within 10 days if you're really persistent, and also looking at guides and like having a direction or a goal, which his goal was to basically draw pretty women, draw pretty anime women. I mean, I find Red says, imagine a Fable game getting Rockstar Games treatment. Man, that would be some... Dude, don't. I can't even. Yeah. Although I don't know if I need a game that's like... I think Rockstar still goes with like really pretty games. And I don't know if I need a game to be that pretty. Like there was even moments in Red Dead Redemption 2 where like my character fell in the mud and I was caked in mud and I was like, wow. How fucking long did this take to do? Like, Jesus, you know? And the game was running stably, so like it was just like, geez, you guys are crazy. I mean, I feel like I would rather Fable work with like Peter Molyneux's team and then Baldur's Gate team. I feel like that'd be like, to me, because I think I would love the depth of I feel like it just works well. I think Baldur's Gate's a game that has innately a lot of depth to it. I think, damn, that would ever hit when it comes to Fable. I mean, the budget of a GTA 6 is insane. Rumors to be around $2 billion. Fuck. Well, I mean, that is also pocket change. I think in the first like month, Rockstar was selling like shark cards made like, I think, easily $1 billion. So they're like, yeah, we'll give 1% back to the game. I mean, we're still probably getting a big game, but I think it's funny just to see how much money those games make. I mean, I fucking love Wet and or Sweat via. Yeah, sure. I think some of them make sense. I just think there's a degree in which how much is this taking away from like a mechanic that could be fun, you know? Like a whole ass system, like building a fleet, to building a space station, you know, things like that. Like sweat physics or building a space. Leave it to sweat physics will be modders. All right, modders will get that up in a minute, okay? But all the other stuff, Red says, yeah, all the hackers of GTA Online probably expedition in the next, increase the server release date thing. It is not an isekai, it is an action anime. Oh, okay, I'm not sure then. I heard that name before though, Lowen, that anime you just mentioned. Also, boys, I think we're gonna need to wind down soon here. My throat is just super dry. And like now my throat, sorry, my voice is going. My voice is going. Let me go to our Discord. And let's go to the channel. There it is. Where is the art tab first? Lone, who is the man? Lone, I don't know the character. Is this guy supposed to have a hairline of the top? I don't know the animation. The arm, I'm in love with. The arm looks rad. You know, I love me some DMC. That fucking arm, boy. But what is the hairline looking crazy to me? Yeah. The girl looking cute. I like the hand pose. You also blocking that cleavage. Also, that's gonna be a difficult thing. This bit looks right, but this bit, how do you make depth come through the arm here? Shouldn't there be like it should be some, maybe there's like wrinkle lines here because she's pushing into her I don't know, it's tough. Lone, you always go on hard mode and I never understand. You need to calm down. Just looks difficult, all the variables you have to adjust to, you know? You did. You probably messaged me the damn Nikitas. Holy shit! God damn! This one might be my favorite, Lone. I say that every time. This might be my favorite Nikita that you showed me. Thickness of the gods. Golly, also kind of tasteful. It's not as risque as the other ones. There is some flesh shown, but not too much. I haven't seen her from the front, but she looking great. I think the hat's cute, fluffy, the red hair, or not red hair, sorry, bright blonde hair, working with the white highlight. This one's an absolute win. Oh God, hello, Mad. Hello, Mad. You came in a weird time. I saw someone playing an hour of the game, and most of the video was him wandering around with nothing interesting happening. Yeah, me too. I had the same thing. I watched a game ranks video where Falcon was like talking about how like there's nothing going on. there's no enemy here. The day before. I wonder if Suicide Squad will have DLC. Oh, definitely. I think they will. I think they'll also probably have. They're definitely gonna have, I think, the skins. But I think there's definitely gonna be. I think we've heard about that, where they're gonna have actual things. Also, what's good? Mad said, are you going to play the new Let It Die? The new one? I don't know, Mad. I go back and forth. There's a reason why I haven't actually been covering the update, the Let It Die update. The reason why is because I feel like it's not fair for me to keep updating the game when I personally am not very, very, very much invested in it anymore, you know? So I kind of feel weird. I feel like it's a disservice to the community in a way to kind of be half in and half out. And also I keep signaling to YouTube that I keep, releasing a video on Let It Die and people keep watching it, but then that kind of signals to YouTube that that's my audience in a way, which it isn't anymore. We kind of stream a lot now. If anything, my audience, if I hope I can make it basically VR based, because I like VR a lot. I think VR can be really interesting to watch. Just it's hard to get people to kind of be interested in VR or to give the videos a chance, I guess. But anyways, yeah. But I don't think so. I think it's probably not very likely. I might make one video, like jumping in and being like, hey, thought I'd tell you what I think because I was somewhat in this community. I love the community bits, but I don't want to overhype my amount in it. But yeah, I think it'd be nice to jump in and be like, hey, just so you know, this is the game. This is what I think about it. It's out, because I do think people look at my channel as kind of like a notification for Let It Die. And yeah. It says, so remember when I said my boss at work wanted me to commission art, work for her husband. She wanted me to draw her and her husband in the anime from and give it to her superhero. Ooh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. I was about to say, that's a young ass looking woman. Her husband might be a little bit old. Okay, older, I should say. Or maybe he's supposed to be like a scientist. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, you have to let me know what they think about it, because it's looking good. Now that I know the context, that makes sense. Because like, is this like a Nikita officer or like a medic type person, like scientist. But no, it makes more sense that it's the old woman. So yeah, it's more less about what I think and more about what the woman thinks, because it's her husband and it's her. So hopefully, yeah, she you know what she likes and all that kind of stuff. So this is Lumb Mill. Both her origin and limited version can guess which is which. Okay, so this is her normal one. I'm gonna hope it's all fine. It's okay. It's not as bad. It's not as egregious. Oh, so is this what? Are they the same? Is this her like? This has to be her paid one, right? Because this one's far better. I mean, this one, yes, is showing some more skin, but like, who cares? But who cares? There's too much going on. All right, how bad is it? Let's see. So those guys don't know, this is Lone Ticket's Nikita addiction. He is into this mobile game where there's very provocative waifus, we'll say. And yeah, he keeps me up to date on some of the art styles, and when they're so gosh darn egregious, he sends them to me. Or he just sends me all. I think he just sends me all of them. All right, yep. Some heavy cheek action. Got it. And this one, I think we should be okay. Yes, that's the only thing too risky. Just on some thighs. I don't love this one as much. This one's a little bit too in your face. It looks very much like lingerie. But this is art. Twitch, please. But yeah, it looks a little risque. Very akin to wedding lingerie, essentially. I don't love this one as much. It's somehow less provocative as the previous one we just seen. Should be cute. I like this one a lot. We're just gonna hold on here. We're gonna hold here for a bit. All right, we like this one. I like this one a lot. It's tasteful. Oh, also for you guys, it's like a flashbang. It's so bright. I'm sorry. It's also contrasting with my dark features. They're just so bright. Anyways. Also, let's go Faceless. Faceless says, I didn't like Suicide Squad Online. I hope it changed. It. What do you mean, Faceless? What do you mean? I don't like Suicide Squad Online. Did you play like the beta for Suicide Squad and there was like an online mode that you didn't like? Or people were like jumping into your game randomly? Yeah. I feel like they have to have that off. Like you shouldn't have to play with other people in co-op. I couldn't see them doing that. Oh my god. So this is both original and limited versions. Can you get? Oh, these are both. Oh, I see. So these are the same. This is the same person. You don't like that. I don't like her. If the bottom one's her paid version, I don't like her paid version that much. It's very. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Why? For people who play Nikita, you want less clothes, so I guess that makes sense. But I think this one looks way more aesthetic. Lone says, "Yep, some Nikita," and the second one is the limited. I was about to say, of course it is. Also, it looks very like wife, again, like marriage lingerie, essentially, tasteful lingerie, if you will. Lone says, so this is the original version of, yeah, okay, so that makes sense. Yes, I like this one. Ladies and gentlemen, oh, the last thing I wanted to just ramble, I'm burning out. The last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, someone asked what my game of the year was. I said it was Hi-Fi Rush. That was a game. My VR game of the year, which is probably the one I have the most grounds to talk about, because I've actually played a lot of VR games this year. I don't know. It's hard to quantify. I bet if I played Barbaria, I think I would probably say that one, because I just feel like it's going to be my type of game. We had Battle Talent, we had Blade and Sorcery is not new this year, but I think it kind of still counts. Bone Lab doesn't really count, but it's either it might be even Arizona Sunshine, because I just really like if that game keeps up its pace and just like there's tons of gameplay to play on that game. I think that game will be great. It's hard to say. I feel like if I'm just gonna throw it to something, I'm gonna say Brawl Hollow, which I've only played for like 4 hours, but it just is that different and that interesting that I feel like it's gonna be up there, you know. you know, even though I don't think it came out this year. So again, it's a VR game of the last 3 years, we'll say. But yeah, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Before we leave, do you want to see my PC, which we probably should have showed off like first before I started fucking dying off completely? For those guys who don't know, like Faceless, I spent a lot of money on a new PC that is strictly for gaming, and I hope it's going to be proficient in that task. Yeah, fingers crossed it's going to be good. This is the PC that I spent a while making, and hopefully it is good enough for your eyes. But it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be, you will see. We'll see. We're going to do one of these. We're going to do one of these. Quickly. There it is. Don't look at this. Don't look at this. I don't want to throw that away. I like keeping those things. My little messages to myself. Anyway, that is my PC. She looks not as exciting as I would have maybe hoped, but I kind of love that, actually. Actually, I didn't really hope it would. I don't want RGB nightmare hell. Come on, do the thing. But yeah, I don't want RGB nightmare hell. There's not a lot of RGB. There's this little son of a bitch in the back, but this is an RTX 70. This is my cable management. Come on. There it is. I can't really move it around, but you can see. My cable management, I'll have you know, is godlike. Okay, I should also hold this like this. My cable management, guys, it's godlike. Okay, I don't want to turn my whole PC around to show you, but let me tell you, it's the best. Okay, I'm not even kidding. It's actually great. But yeah, there's this cute little post. Oh God in heaven. There's this cute little post. You see that little guy? Because apparently your graphics card is a little heavy, but Red was telling me that it's reinforced or something, which is fine. But yes, we have a CPU cooler. This little guy right here. Look at that ASMR. Hear that? That's gonna cause the spark going off and hurt my motherboard. Anyways, my CPU cooler, which is 110% not touching my GPU. It is not. There is a gap. It is tiny, but it is there. And yeah, I guess I could like click up. I could do one of these and it would turn on. There we go. It was on sleep mode. See, and then when it's booting up, it gives me these little cool LEDs. It says like CPU. When my CPU is about to rip its whole life apart. We got RAM, we got VGA, we got boot. Okay, yeah. All right. It looks wonderful. I like that it looks basically like it's just exactly what I wanted. You know what I mean? It's just trying to be as effective as possible. Okay? It's not trying to be pretty. It's not trying to be this one of those kind of look at me girls. You know what I mean? It's just trying to get the goddamn job done, and it is doing it. It is doing it. Ugh, I'm burping. Anyways, but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's my PC. I wish I could, show it to you more in a cooler way. There are some fingerprints right here. Sorry for that. It looked kind of gross. I do want to wipe that down because it was bothering me. Because, yeah, not looking great. Anyways, but it's more or less done. I think it'd be good to put some fans up here in the top part. Just pulling air through this venting hole, as well as Red was saying that we could take the GPU out, the GPU cooler out, putting this metal doodad there, and then putting the cooler on, and that would hopefully get me below the red, which we're not that close to anyway, so that probably will be enough, but I'll do that later because it's a lot. As you can see, no hard drives, just with the 2 terabytes that's there. I do have a USB that has like another 2 terabytes on it, so it's not the end of the world, but yeah. Yes. Rather messy desk. I see. Shut up. Shut up. Which desk? This one? This one or this? Cause it's not that messy. It's got some of this. It just got some tools. This is egregious right here. This thing right here. This is too much. I've given up on sorting things where you're like, it's good enough. But other than that, it's perfectly clean. This is what you guys look like. Look at you. Cringe, Jamie. But ladies and gentlemen, that was the stream. That's my PC. I'm thankful we didn't spend too much time on this because it's not really much to look at. But yeah, I saw the reflection from the. Yeah, the other half is pretty rough. Yeah, you might be right. Okay, yeah. Listen, I ate supper. There's a plate on the desk. It's my VR stuff. I'm trying to also do the multi-VR stream, or the streaming with two PCs, which leaves me having trying my old Elgato and this Garbo. I'm not gonna pull it out, but it's there. Anyways, dang, seeing Grinn's desk reminds me of my own. Was it that bad? How bad is it when I put that thing on there? Let me see. How bad? What did you guys see? I hope there's no credit card anywhere or something. Is it on there? What did you see? Okay. Hey. Fuck you. What do you can see this? You can see this thing. My desk is the cleanest. That plate there was my dinner, all right? This is my gamepad that looks kind of like a stain, but it's not. What's good, Lex? Hey, Lex, you come at a really weird time, okay? I made a PC. We're showing it off. She looks wonderful, Grim. Thanks. Is she a she? Looks like Black Thunder to me. Okay, no RGB, just efficiency, which I'm keen on. But yes, I heard your voice before. You have, Lex? I played Let It Die a lot in the past. You maybe heard me from there. But yeah, hi. But ladies and gentlemen, this was a fun hangout stream. I love talking to you guys. As always, we talked about all kinds of things, such as Game Awards, video games, how fucking amazing Fable is, how weird Peter Molyneux was, PCs and such, anime, the whole goddamn shebang. And I cannot wait to talk to you again. Hopefully Thursday, I will have the dual PC setup going. Fingers crossed. It's not going to take a millennia. Yeah, Frost. That was my old name, Lex. Frost. Golly gee willy. Yes. My username used to be Frost. Yes, we changed it to Grin because it was more of a unique thing. And also, I liked it more because, yeah. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, we're winding down. Thank you kindly for your time. Hopefully I can see you on Thursday. I'm hoping to get the dual PC going, and hopefully we can actually have a functioning VR stream that isn't kind of janky and laggy. That's my hope. We'll see if I can have it all. But last, ladies and gentlemen, thank you kindly for your time. Lex says, God damn, I thought you sounded familiar. Yeah, man. I wonder what kind of sector you came from. Hope you pop in on our Thursday stream, Lex. Where we also stream on YouTube on the GRINN channel. That channel used to be called Jack Frost. So if you were looking for that channel and didn't know where it went, it's because it was renamed Jack Frost. Anyway, or no, it was renamed GRINN. But yes, hopefully I can see you again, Lex. Hopefully I can see you on Thursday. Maybe we can catch up there. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you kindly for your time. Hopefully I can see you again, and goodbye, my friends.